from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for August 2018. My name is Jonathan Leung, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how are you doing?
Good, John.
Now, I think we may have a lot of new viewers, Tim, because we got retweeted on the Arcade 1-Up feed on Twitter, and so some of you who may be wanting to know some additional information about Arcade 1-Up and the mini arcade cabinets, we will be getting to that later in the show, but it'll probably be about 45 minutes or so, so if you want to go and come back, or you can leave us on, we'd love for you to do that, of course. In the meantime, we will be covering some of the questions that people submit to our website at arcaderepairtips.com, and we will be trying to answer them like we always do, right, Tim?
Right.
And so before we get started, though, Tim, how are you doing, and how are things at Chuck E. Cheese?
I'm good. We are in the, it's been so hot here in Texas that I think everybody's too hot to swim.
Right.
When it gets
absolutely.
the dog days of summer
we should
here.
say it has cooled off a bit the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's only like 95.
Right.
We're like in a cold front. But, compared to the 114 in Waco, Texas, compared to that, it's a little cooler. But I think it's still too hot to do much outside, so we've been really busy. Plus, we have a lot of new promotions, which we're going to talk about, going on, I think, that are actually working and bringing people in.
Now, today you mentioned something in particular about Chuck E. Cheese that I thought was pretty big news. You want to go ahead and share that with the audience?
Yeah, we had a big announcement today. We were ordered to, I won't release the specific numbers, but I can tell you I was told to pretty much almost double the amount of tickets that we give out. So, as most people know, you can go into a game and you can set it, the bonus, how many tickets per play and all that stuff, and we were told to greatly increase that. So I was actually shocked because I have been there now for 17 years. We've had pretty much the same output level, give or take half a ticket, and we went up way more. To give you guys an idea, my store alone will probably give out about 80,000 more tickets a week.
Wow.
So that's a big jump.
Absolutely.
It's also a big cost and also a lot more repair, like on the ticket machines and stuff like that. So I've got to be ready. Got to order more tickets and get some stuff ready.
But a lot more kids with big piles of tokens in their hand, or tickets in their hand, or maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. I think that one way that I'm going to try to achieve this is by upping my bonus. Okay. And so that when you do win, you really win a lot of tickets.
Right.
And I think that people like that. Maybe we can get some response back tonight. Would you rather get more ticket average, like let's say you average 5-6 tickets every play? Or would you mind getting 2 or 3 tickets and then all of a sudden you win this 400 or 500 or 1,000 bonus?
Yeah.
It's kind of a, I think that when it's spitting out all them tickets you won and the bells and everything are going off, I think that's really part of the fun. It's kind of the way I want to approach it because I need to raise my ticket average. To do that, I'm probably going to up my bonuses.
And to be honest with you, Tim, I think that there's something to be said about a machine going off when you hit that bonus and then people getting excited.
Oh, yeah.
So, to me, I think that makes more sense to limit the amount of tokens or the amount of tickets that people get for just a single play.
Right.
And making that bonus really big and maybe easier to get.
Right. It's kind of like, or for a skill game.
Right.
Like if you don't have much skill, don't know what you're doing, you're just going to win a ticket or two. But if you really know what you're doing, I want to make it to where you can actually win a good amount of tickets and come home with a good prize. I think people would like that.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for giving us the Chuck E. Cheese update, Tim. And guys, remember that if you want to interact with us during the show, you can just send us a message in the live chat. Tim, our Facebook moderator, Louie, is actually in there tonight, so he'll be moderating the comments if there's anything that you want to bring up. So we want to thank Louie for being here tonight and moderating the comments, and we want to thank you for being here tonight and watching the live show. Now, if you're just joining us, we did mention we're going to be talking some Arcade 1-Up cabinets here in a little bit, probably about 45 minutes to an hour mark, Tim, you think? Something like that. So it's going to be a little while. If you're here for just that, then you guys can, of course, come back later, or you can stay tuned and listen to us answer arcade questions. That's totally up to you. We'd love for you to stay around, of course, but we understand if you'd rather come back. So, Tim, I'm going to check the live chat real quick. Somebody says he's here for the free beer, and Louis said free beer tomorrow.
Oh,
so there you go. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, let's see. Salutations. Let's see. Tickets per more. Let's see. More tickets per play is what Louis says. He wants more, like, we were talking
for each
about
gameplay.
Right, exactly. He wants more per each gameplay instead of the big bonus and getting less per each gameplay. It's really a preference. There's a lot of people
I
who
think
do
so.
both.
And we may try it both ways to see which gets more plays or added value to the guests and see what they're saying. Main thing is I have to account for the amount of tickets that went out versus the amount of plays. So I was told my average, it's almost double, guys. So that's really big news. That means you're going to get a lot more tickets than you used to. I've got to just about ramp the tickets up on every game.
Wow, that's awesome. So, well, that means you can win more, and we're all about winning, right, Tim?
Right.
And let's go ahead and get into some of the questions. Speaking of winning,
yes.
You see, you're winning by being here and listen to us answer questions. So let's continue in here, guys. And the first question we have here is from Joe. And so, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and show Joe's question here. Joe writes, please help me with this focus problem with my Gorf on your next live show on YouTube. Well, Tim, here we are.
All right.
I rebuilt this monitor with all new capacitors and cannot get a clean, sharp focus. I've read that changing the taped up capacitor on the neck board may help this problem. I have 2 extra K4600 boards that I swapped one from and it still looks the same. Is this a convergence problem? Thanks, Joe. And Tim, Joe sent us a YouTube link to his video. I will throw a picture up of what his problem looked like. Oh, went too far. There we go. But the YouTube link is right below.
Okay.
So if you guys if you're watching the video, you can actually go watch the video right now just by going to the little description section for the video, and then there's a link to Joe's video. So if you actually want to see it in motion. But Tim, I just took a quick screenshot of it, and you'll see that there's quite a bit of red bleeding around the yellow aliens.
Yeah, especially on the top row right there. You can really see that good.
Right, and it seems like there's a little bit of bleeding around the red ones as well, but we don't notice it, of course, because they're red.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're having some little color bleeding issues, Tim. So the question here that Joe poses is this a convergence issue?
Probably so.
Right.
Especially based on the fact that he said he swapped out a different board and the problem stayed there.
Right. So the chassis board, for those, if you guys are watching and you don't really know much about arcade repair, the chassis is the part of the monitor, basically the circuit board that hooks up to the tube. And so he took basically a replacement one. He took the one he had in, you took that one out, put a different one in, and he still had the problem even with a different chassis.
Right.
And so at that point, I think we really have to lean on either a tube or a board issue, right, Tim?
Probably so, given that he didn't have 3 chassis that all needed cap kits.
Exactly.
I would think that based on the picture that he sent in the video is that it probably is convergence type issues, or it could need a tube rejuvenation or something. But most of the time when you see that bleeding, almost a double effect going on,
right,
that's a real good indicator that, and sometimes you can adjust that out. I'm assuming he's already tried all of that.
Sure.
And the multiple boards would, at least it would have looked different some way.
Exactly. The adjustments would have been different.
So the fact he kept getting the same result really does lead me to believe that it is some type of convergence issue. And when we're talking about the convergence, we're talking about those rings that are on the back of the tube.
Right. And it can also involve the yoke itself, like readjusting the yoke as well as the convergence rings. There
Correct.
could be multiple parts to the convergence. But Tim, let's go ahead and put up what we have for his response here. And, I kind of said what you said, Tim, from your picture. It looks like there's quite a bit of red bleeding around the yellow aliens, which would seem to indicate that it's either the red gun is turned up too high or it is misaligned. Also, the fact that you've tried another chassis and the problem remains seems to lend itself to an issue with the tube, probably convergence, kind of like you said, Tim. And Tim, we're going to refer him to our post on adjusting the convergence rings for more information. There is a small possibility, Tim, like we said, that this could be a problem with the board. Okay, but let's start with the tube first and see if that fixes the problem. Now, Tim, I say a small possibility.
Yeah,
okay, because more than likely this is a tube issue of some sort, right?
Very unlikely that it is, but it is a possibility. We do want to throw that in there.
Sure, exactly. So we do have a video, like we talked about, and a post on adjusting the convergence rings, Tim, and that will show you how to do that in a way that we like to do it. It's pretty basic, not very hard, and hopefully that'll get your colors back into sync. And that's what we want here, right, Tim?
Yes.
So there you go. Anything else on Joe's question here, Tim?
No, I think we pretty much answered it. And, a lot of times that focus issue is really aggravating, right? Because your tube will look good, but most of the time when you think of focus, you think of the flyback.
Right.
What that usually happens is when it looks good and then gets blurry later.
Right, and kinda, usually you have more consistency, right?
Yeah,
like
more,
the entire screen will be blurry.
Exactly.
Like not just the aliens.
Just wanted to throw that in there in case you guys are wondering, why is he not mentioning the flyback? Because the focus is on the flyback.
Exactly.
And sometimes that helps. But it doesn't look like it's out of focus. It's more out of alignment.
Exactly.
So maybe that will help you guys troubleshoot your games. Because we do, when we talk about focus, a lot of times the flyback will be the problem.
Exactly, yeah, because it actually has a focused adjustment on the flyback.
Right.
And so a lot of times you can put that back into focus, but like Tim mentioned, when you have inconsistent focus issues, a lot of times it's more of a tube or convergence problem.
Yeah.
So, Joe, hopefully it answers your question, and good luck getting that Gorf back up and running. If you have any other questions about it, please let us know, and we'll try to help you out further.
You know, one thing, before we go on, John, that
Sure.
it is good to have a spare chassis of, you know, if you have, let's say you have 3 or 4 games, or even a whole game room like you have, John, you might want to have a spare chassis for each one. That makes the troubleshooting so much faster, and he really did help narrow it down by letting us know he plugged in a different chassis.
Absolutely, and if you have a lot of games, Tim, more than likely you have games that use the same chassis, and so you can always do a chassis swap between those games, and it shouldn't, in most cases, it's not going to harm your chassis to do that.
Right, and see if it's the same chassis,
right.
Same brand, Ford, Chevy,
right?
You know,
Wells Gardner,
right.
K4600, K4600.
If you swap
right?
them and the problem follows, then you know it's in that chassis. But that really, we probably don't mention that enough because we talk about having a spare, like a JAMA board around. Having a spare chassis around really helps too. One that you've capped and is ready to go. Because you know as well as I know, the day you have a party or whatever's the day it's going to go out.
That's right.
You can still throw a chassis in there pretty quick and fix that game.
Absolutely. So good advice, Tim. Always good to have extra parts lying around for sure. Chassis included. So, okay, now Tim, I saw here in the live chat. Since I can't stick around for the whole show, I'm sending a super chat in early. Hope you guys don't mind. So,
sweet.
YouTube Punt sent us $5.
Oh,
so there we go.
you.
There's the tip jar. So guys, if you want to contribute to the tip jar, there's a little money icon down there. If you click that, you can tip us. If you want to.
Yeah.
But YouTube Punk did, and we want to thank him for his tip. But, Tim, we do appreciate those quite a bit.
Right.
So,
and remember that if you can't watch the whole show, we are taping this, so
exactly.
We do replay it later. But we do appreciate all of you guys, and quite a few of you tonight that are in the live chat. So make sure if you want to get a question in or a comment to go ahead and add that at any time.
Absolutely. So let's see. Louis has a good suggestion. He says he keeps a universal chassis around.
Okay.
And they have
Great
those
idea.
universal chassis that you can get. Tim, they're usually from like China or somewhere like that.
Yeah,
But they work
I see
with
them
a lot
on eBay a lot.
Exactly. They work with a lot of different tubes. And so having a universal around, if you do have a chassis go out, at least you can plug that in. They're not as good as the original chassis in most cases, Tim, but in a pinch, they definitely work.
All right. And they will help you with your troubleshooting.
Absolutely. So, well, guys, let's go ahead and continue on. Now, Tim, I'm going to send one more reminder. This will be the last one, in that if you're here for the Arcade 1-Up cabinet information stuff that we're going to be covering later, that's going to be around the 45-minute to 1 hour mark. So you guys are free to stick around and listen to us talk about arcade repair, or you can come back at that time, and we will be covering the Arcade 1-Up cabinets. So, or we'll be at least getting into the discussion section, hopefully. So, but without further ado, Tim, let us move on to the next question, and that one is from Jordan. And here we go. Hello, you guys are awesome. Hello, you guys are awesome. Maybe I need to do it
That's
like
a great way to start.
I love your videos.
Yeah, even better.
Compliments get you so far, Tim.
Yes, they do.
There you go. I have a Miss Pac-Man cocktail. I'm attempting to fix it myself, but I don't know where to start. I tested the fuses and they are good. So I have power and I can play the game and I hear the noises, but the screen is black. Any tips would be awesome. Thanks, Jordan from Vancouver, Canada, Tim.
Okay.
So kind of international here.
Yeah.
So Jordan has a Miss Pac-Man, it sounds like cocktail cabinet, right? Yeah, cocktail cabinet. And it sounds like he can hear it. He's got power, but there is nothing on the screen. Screen is black. What is going on here with Jordan's Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet?
Well, he has a classic case of what we call games playing blind.
Sure.
And we shot a really fun, cool video on that
Right.
that he can watch. But we'll go through a few things while we're talking about it. First of all, congratulations on the Miss Pac-Man and cocktail. That's always been one of my favorite games to play in a cocktail
Absolutely.
cabinet. And he sounds like he's done some good things. He's checked some fuses and stuff. As we always say here at Arcade Repair Tips, to always start at power. So we're checking the power flow. You want to make sure, number one, you said you have a blank screen.
Right.
Okay. Now there's a little different than a total blank screen and a white screen or a blue screen or a staticky screen.
Sure.
So we want to make sure that there's actual power going to that monitor, and that would be an AC power going to it. So you need to find the AC plug going to the monitor, check your voltages there, and make sure that you're actually getting power to there. Now some monitor chassis have a fuse. And many times we've talked about this before, but if the fuse did blow, there's usually a good reason.
Right.
And so he wants to check the voltage and stuff on his chassis. And then his B plus voltage, which is the DC voltage that it switched to up in there. And we've got some really great videos, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Watch our video on troubleshooting games playing blind. But the fact that you are playing, but you can't see anything. If you've got power to that monitor, you can actually turn up the brightness and stuff. If you're not seeing anything at all, you probably got a bad chassis and you need to repair that. It could be several different things on the chassis, which we go into in the video. But anyway, it's a monitor issue. He's basically determined that.
Now, Tim, before we go on, we had a comment on one of the videos this week, actually on the Troubleshooting Games that are playing blind video, that somebody said, well, what if I'm not getting power to my monitor? You never talk about that in the video.
Right.
Well, if you're not getting power to the monitor, let's say we're not getting the 120 volts, which most monitors take, to the monitor, what do we do in that case?
Well, that's where he's already looked at. There's some fuses that go down there.
Right.
It also goes down to a transformer.
Mm-hmm.
You want to check the connections there. Most of the time you're not getting any power at all. That's easier fix.
Exactly.
It's usually just a wiring issue or something. You can trace that where it comes in from the floor. Make sure that a lot of times I've even seen those little filters go bad or
AC
a wire
filter.
come unsoldered, and that would cause, you've got to trace that power all the way. Where does it stop?
Right.
And if you can find out where it stops and you can figure out where to repair it, you should have power all the way up there. You can also do continuity checks from the end of your cord to that wire and make sure that it's wired all the way there. You're hearing a good beep and stuff. That will help you determine if it's a wiring issue or not.
So if we're not getting voltage to the monitor, we probably need to trace those wires back and make sure that we've got AC voltage coming from the plug through the transformer and up to the monitor.
Right, exactly. I worked on a game one time, John, for probably 30 minutes before I realized that the plug in the game room wasn't any good.
Well, there you go.
We had no power.
Right.
And coming from the floor. Something had fallen down in there and shorted that plug out. Actually tripped a breaker, but I worked on this game before I ever even started at the floor. Remember, at your plug, and go all the way through. It was such a simple fix after that. Everything works better plugged in. We've determined that.
Oh, there you go. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right here, Tim, and I do think this is a case of playing blind, just like you mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and throw up our outline little page here that we did on it. Sounds like you have a classic case of playing blind. In other words, everything is working except you don't have a picture on the screen. This is almost always caused by an issue with your monitor. Please see our post and video on troubleshooting games that are playing blind for more information. Now, Tim, anytime we talk about Miss Pac-Man cabinets, I'm going to throw these links up here because they're so helpful, and that's the Lawnmower Man's Pac-Man page, Mike's Arcade has a Pac-Man troubleshooting page, and Arcade Archive has a troubleshooting page. We have thrown these up here before during the live show, Tim, but I'm going to reiterate them because I feel like all three of those links are very helpful if you are working on Pac-Man games, whether that's Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, I mean, pretty much the same game, so, but those links right there are also down below in the video description, so if you're looking for them, they're down there. But Jordan, if you have any other issues with your Miss Pac-Man, highly recommend that you go to those sites and check out the information there. Tim, is there anything else that you want to cover here with Jordan's issue before we move on?
No, we can go ahead and move on to the next one because he'll watch that video and hopefully that will help him.
Okay, now I see the live chat over here. Let's see what all we got. Let's see. Han says, hey guys, just got back from summer camp, headed back to school soon. Hope to get my 161 fixed before school starts. Good luck with that. If there's any way we can help Hans, let us know. Tim says, was wondering if the Arkanoid spinner control would work well with the Tempest game inside a multi-K JAMA setup. Could we use the Arkanoid spinner control for a Tempest game inside a multi-K JAMA setup? So like some of these multi-K boards, Tim, now are playing Tempest.
Okay.
And so could we hook up, he says, an Arkanoid spinner. He may have an Arkanoid already. Could I hook up that spinner to one of these multi-game boards and play Tempest?
Well, he's testing my remembrance right here, John. It seems like there's something different with that Arkanoid spinner that is different. But there are some multi-game spinners
Right.
out
There are some that actually do.
that would work, I know for sure.
Right.
I'm going to have to say I can't remember. I think that one turns a gear, that turns another gear or something that makes the potentiometer, so it's a little bit different. I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to say it's probably going to be difficult, because if it were possible, people would have been robbing them off and fixing Tempest and stuff instead of Arkanoid.
Right.
And every time I've never seen them swapped.
Right. And it could just,
That's just
could be the value of the potentiometer
I
is
think that's what's different about it. I think it's just a different, because the Arkanoid, remember, just goes left and right, really.
Right.
And Tempest goes in a complete
and when I played
360.
Right. When I played the Arkanoid, it has kind of the spinner has kind of a chunk feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Tempest kind of just freely spins.
You spin it, makes that whir sound.
Exactly. Right.
And so I do know there's some differences. Gosh, I cannot remember exactly without looking at both of them. Just been too long ago since I've worked on either one of those spinners. But I do know they're a little different. I don't think they're interchangeable. And if you're going to build a multi-game, I would highly suggest that you buy one of the newer style that will work with both of them.
Now, I don't think there'd be any harm in hooking it up, though, and trying it. So, I mean, to the multi-game board, because those multi-game boards just work on a potentiometer. It's a plus and a minus.
Well, we're going to talk about something later in the show that may help with that hookup then, and we'll see if it works. If anybody knows the answer to that, or you want to test that theory, let us know and take some pictures. That would be really helpful. I can't remember.
There you go. The spinners work the same way, is what he says. So if the spinners work the same way in both of them, I think I mean it's worth a shot. You can wire it up. It's like excuse me. It shouldn't hurt anything to wire it up. I mean, so why not try it? And if it works, then it works. But I'm with you. I mean, a lot of the Arkanoids I played kind of have a different spinner on them that's a little bit different than the Tempest. So, I mean, it just really depends on your Arkanoid cabinet, I think.
But could it work? I would say it definitely could. I've just never seen anybody do it. I'm surprised.
Okay. Sounds good. So there you go. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Silverbrown Mania says, I had a Centipede that played blind, found 2 caps bad in the high voltage section, shut down, and a broken leg of the neck board. And so that happens too. Sometimes you have games, the stuff we show in the games playing blind are common component failures, but there are always failures outside of that, Tim. Caps in the power supply section, bad pins on the neck board, stuff like that can also cause playing blind issues, right?
Sure.
And so, yeah, always keep that in mind. Let's see here. Okay, Andy says you could use one for both, but they might be geared differently, so they may feel different, but the functionality should work the same way. I agree, they're both potentiometers, Tim, but I think they feel different, and I think that's a lot of it.
And that may be just the way I'm thinking, too. I don't know how Tempest, to me, if I had to use one, I'd use the Tempest one.
Right, there you go. So, okay, well, let's continue on here, Tim. And the next question we have is from Matthew. And Matthew says, I've got an arcade machine with 6,000 games on it. Tim, how'd they fit all those games in there? But anyway, it was working, and now it won't work. Any ideas at all? Can someone take a look at it for me, please? Thanks. Now, Tim, we don't do on-site repair except for locally in our area. But, Tim, when you hear that they have a game that has 6,000 games on it, what are you thinking immediately as far as the machine itself?
I'm thinking that he's got some kind of computer in there.
Okay.
Or some kind of one of the brand newest multi-game boards.
Uh-huh.
And most of them are pretty much little computers that play that many games.
Right.
So I would, but he really doesn't give us a lot of information that we need. Is it playing blind? Is it coming on at all? Are there any power at all? It could be just the main fuse to the game. So there's quite a few left. A lot of questions within those questions.
Sure.
That he doesn't tell us that. So, but again, we want to check our power, make sure the power supply is good. But if it is some kind of computer in there, which I'm assuming it is because it's playing 6,000 games, a lot of times we've worked on many of them where the battery dies on the computer, loses its setting, and it won't come on.
Sure.
So he can try to change the battery and turn it on physically by hand. That would be one thing to try. Other than that, he's just going to have to check his power supply, check his wirings, check everything, check the fuses in there, and make sure that he is getting power to his board and through his board.
Right. So, and I'm with you here, Tim, because anytime we hear a game has like 6,000 games
Yeah,
on
it
it, a
sounds
lot of times
like
it's
main.
exactly, it's a PC-based type system.
Right.
Regardless of whether that's, like you said, like an actual computer. Somebody said in the chat, said a Raspberry Pi, could be that.
Could be
a multi-game that's a computer, a multi-game board setup that is a computer. But for the most part, a lot of times when we hear that many games, it's got to be something that's more PC-oriented. And so, Tim, I kind of went with the same direction you went here. So, I mean, the biggest thing, though, are what are the symptoms? Does the game power on at all?
Right.
Does anything come up on the screen? Have you tried starting a game? Can you hear sound coming from the speakers? Our goal here, Tim, of course, is to narrow down where the problem might be in the cabinet. There are only 3 major parts of an arcade game where you can have issues, right? Power supply, game board, and monitor for the most part.
Yeah.
You can have issues with the control panel.
Right.
Okay, but
Or
I mean, the
wiring or
major
something.
parts are power supply, game board, and monitor. If you have those 3 parts, the game will at least run, you'll get picture, you'll probably get sound. Okay, the fact that it's a multi-game presents a different challenge. Is it using a multi-game board or a computer like we mentioned? If it's a computer, very common for CMOS batteries to die, causing the computer not to power on. So may need to replace the battery and change the settings, Tim, is what it really comes down to. There's a lot of people, Tim, and this is very common for people who build MAME cabinets to put a very low-power computer in there, because even a low-power computer will play a lot of MAME games. Okay,
Sure.
and so it could be that whoever you bought the game from put a low-power computer in there, CMOS battery has now gone out, and there's usually a BIOS setting, Tim, that tells it to come on when it gets power. And so if that BIOS setting gets lost because the battery dies, you basically have to manually set all that up again. And it can be a real pain. And so what you have to do is replace the battery. Then a lot of times you have to push a power button. And if it doesn't have the power button, you have to jumper the power on. And then you have to set up the BIOS again. And so it can be very difficult.
John, you know, we built computers before, and I know you work with computers all the time. They create a lot of heat inside of a inside of their own shell.
Absolutely.
Then you put that inside of a game. So we have had, I'm getting to where I really like to make sure I have a lot of fans and stuff in there. If there's not adequate ventilation, you can destroy a motherboard that way just from simply overheating. It's very common. Especially if somebody that built it didn't really know what they were doing or didn't ventilate it properly.
Sure, sounds good. Anything else for Matthew here, Tim, before we move on?
No, I think so. Did anybody in the chat have an idea or suggestion?
No, kind of the same things that we were thinking, I think, for the most part. But,
Okay.
I will say on the previous problem, though, Andy Baldwin said these aren't POTS, they're opto-based sensors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, opto-based is, it's similar in the way that it works and everything. It's just that it's read by optical sensors versus like an actual potentiometer-type resistor. So,
Right.
I mean, that's the difference. But, I mean, we're getting a value. What we're trying to track is the value that's changing.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, let us continue on here, Tim, and hopefully Matthew can get his game up and running. Matthew, if you have any additional questions about the computer stuff, let us know, and we'll try to help you out further with that. But Tim, it can just be a challenge because he really doesn't even tell us any more than it's just not working.
Right.
So anytime you guys write to us, make sure to include as much detail as possible.
Could need the on switch turned on.
Exactly,
It's like,
exactly. So, or, Tim, how many times have we had like a kill switch in the back?
Yes.
It's not activated or whatever the case may be. So there you go. So Matthew, hopefully answer your question. Good luck getting your 6,000-in-1 arcade game up and running. Okay, Tim, let's take this question from Scott. And I believe this one, Tim, came from our YouTube page. And Scott says, can a Rejuvenator make a computer CRT to be brighter overall? I recently got a 2003 Samsung 1100DF that is in like new condition, but it just seems dimmer than what I would like it. The colors seem fine, just not as bright as I think they should be. I also adjusted various settings, but it didn't really help much. Okay, so Tim, Scott, basically, now this is not an arcade monitor, it sounds like. This is just a CRT that he bought. It's a Samsung 2003, which is a pretty new CRT for the most part. But comparatively, I mean, CRTs, there are some newer ones, but it's pretty new for a CRT. And so the colors just aren't as bright as he thinks they should be. So his question is, would a tube rejuvenator, if he put it on a tube rejuvenator, would it help with the brightness?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if by rejuvenating the tube, that's exactly what the first thing you're going to notice when you rejuvenate one, that it will look brighter and the colors will be more vivid.
Right.
If you can adjust it, and you've already done, but so will caps.
Sure.
And stuff. So we kind of would recommend the tube rejuvenation as a last resort. Do the cap kits and stuff first. So even a 2003 game would probably need a cap kit by now. We're talking 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Or 2003 monitor, sorry.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go that route first. see if that doesn't brighten it up. Even a flyback can cause that. But will a tube rejuvenator help with the brightness? Yes, it will make your colors and everything seem a lot brighter.
There you go. Now, Tim, he also asked another question, but we'll finish up this one real quick. He kind of asked another one today. I'll get to that here in a sec. But like you said, Tim, yes, using a tube rejuvenator on a CRT can make the picture brighter overall. Tube rejuvenators work by boosting the CRT heater voltage, causing the cathode to get super hot and burn off any contamination that's built up. And basically, it exposes fresh cathode material underneath. And Tim, somebody sent us or I read somewhere that it's kind of like a piece of wood. Okay. And so, like, when you use a tube rejuvenator, it's kind of like you're scraping off, like, the bark off the wood. Right. And so you're exposing fresh wood underneath, and then after a while, like, that outside wood gets dirty, and you do another tube rejuvenation, and it scratches it off. The problem, though, is that eventually you don't have any more material. Right, exactly. You don't have any more cathode to expose. And so that's why tube rejuvenation should always be used as a last resort, because, not that it would damage the tube, but there's always a possibility of your tube going out if it gets too high a voltage, and things like that.
Yeah, I've heard people say you do a tube rejuvenation when you're planning on getting rid of it in 6 months.
Right.
Or you do it right before auction.
Sure. Right before the auction, that's right. So like we said, we only recommend tube rejuvenation as a last resort. After you have tried all the adjustments, installing a cap kit, replacing a flyback, etc., it is possible to damage the tube permanently if you are not careful. And Tim, that's really what it comes down to. You don't want to damage the tube permanently, but we have to get the heater voltage high enough to where we are, burning off all of that contamination and exposing the new cathode. So it's a very delicate balance of getting the heater voltage high enough, but not too high to blow the tube.
Right.
So that's why you always have to be careful when you're using a tube rejuvenator. We do have a video on that. Our friend Stan, of course, Tim, has a B&K that he did one of our monitors for us on, and it turned out really well. But you always have to be careful not to do too much voltage.
Right.
Always particular. Tim, anything else for Scott here before I tell you about Scott's second question?
Yeah, no, let's go into Scott's second question.
Okay, well, I don't have it on the outline, but basically he sent us a question today saying, would you recommend cleaning a monitor with simple green and a garden hose? That's basically what it boils down to.
Okay, well, it's probably talking about specifically the back of the monitor, and I've seen
chassis included.
Chassis, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and
both.
Yes, we would recommend doing it that way if you give it ample time to dry. And by that, I mean several days.
Right.
You need to blow it dry and to set it in, where it's going to be, the moisture and everything has plenty of time before you try to plug that back in. We usually recommend about a week.
Like the Texas sun in August?
Yes. Could do it in about 10 minutes here. But, not everybody has the scorching heat that we have. So
that is true. So.
Maybe he lives in Arizona or something. It might even melt out there. I don't know. So you don't have to overdo it. But I definitely recommend blowing it out as best you can, like with an air hose or something, not too high, but gently. And then giving it at least a couple days, 3 or 4 days at the most, to dry completely before you plug it in.
And Simple Green, Tim, is actually a cleaner that we use on monitors as well.
Yeah, just remember that part of the back of that tube is made like that. Exactly. I remember one time I was trying to clean and scrub that stuff off. You can actually do more damage by cleaning off that. It kind of looks like dirt on the back.
So it's better just to gently kind of wipe, I guess?
Just gently wipe that part off, wipe the front of your tube off good, and then spray and clean your chassis. We run them through the dishwasher a lot at work. So, but make sure circuit boards and the chassis. I've run plenty of chassis through our dishwasher before.
There you go. So hopefully it answers your second question, Scott, and good luck getting that Samsung monitor back up and running and bright as possible. So now, Tim, it says Scott here says the 2003 1100DF has known brightness issues. Or no, Jim A. Brown says 2003 Samsung 1100DF has no brightness issues. Your best bet is to rejuvenate the tube. So there you go. And then Scott says, are there any videos to show how to use a rejuvenator machine? To do that, I believe I saw a classic tube rejuvenator on eBay for sale, but since this is a computer monitor and not an arcade monitor, the B&K that we show in our video on using a tube rejuvenator does work on multiple monitors, not just arcade monitors. The key, Tim, is having the right socket, right?
Yes.
So you need to figure out what the socket is for your particular monitor so that it fits on the back of the neck.
If it's working in an arcade game, it probably, we're not, unless he's running a computer to it, I guess.
Well, right. He's just saying it's a computer monitor. So it's a computer monitor maybe that he bought. I don't know if he's using it in an arcade game.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
So, yes, as long as the neck fits it, and I'm sure that somebody else has done that, you can probably look up and see what number neck sockets you need to put on there.
Exactly, and it depends on the Rejuvenator that you buy. Tim, we always like B&K, but there are several different Rejuvenators out there that you can buy. So,
Right.
I mean, it just depends. And B&Ks, they don't make them anymore. I think you only can get them used, right?
Right, and they're
So-
usually not that expensive and a good tool to have, and by all means...
You're working on a lot of monitors, for sure.
Yeah, I would get one and keep it around.
Sounds good. So let's continue here, Tim. Mr. Silverball Mania says, I do all mine that way, and you should see the crap that washes off. And I think that's with the Simple Green and the garden hose.
Right.
And like I said, that is fine. Just make sure it dries. That is always the key to working with electronics and water. Don't do it while it's powered up to voltage, and make sure it dries all the way.
Yep.
Those are the rules, right?
That's it.
There you go. Sean says, I'm about to pull my hair out. My Miss Pac-Man has a loud static sound coming from the speaker. It sounds like wind noise on a microphone. I have put a spare Pac-Man in with the Miss Pac-Man ROMs and no noise. So, Tim, it sounds like there is something with that particular board. And, Tim, a lot of times when we have background noise, it's grounding issues, right?
Could be.
Right. So, I mean, but he's got a Miss Pac-Man board, he gets static sound with. He takes a Pac-Man board, puts the ROMs on it, and it works.
Okay.
No static sound. Okay, so we know that the ROMs are not the issue. We know it's something in the board itself. So,
Right.
I mean, besides grounding issues, is there anything else that you can think of that would cause that static noise?
There is, up in the top of that board, there's a potentiometer.
Yes.
I would really clean that good and make sure that you solder and it's good. But in that area, some caps and maybe a transistor, I can't remember. But you could rebuild that area, the sound area of your monitor. But you also have some sound chips. I'd be interested to know if you switch the sound ROMs over, if they make that same noise. It's probably in that potentiometer area.
Now, is it possible for that to go bad and just have to replace it altogether?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely possible, but most of the time they just need a really good cleaning.
Now, he says he replaced the caps. He spent lots of time looking over the board. Okay, so...
So if he put the Pac-Man chips on it,
he's got Miss Pac-Man. If he puts the
Put
Miss
them
Pac-Man
on
on
a
a Pac-Man
Pac-Man
board, it's fine.
okay, we still got some kind of board
Something with the
issue.
board, right.
And it could be just as simple. I would clean the edge connector really good.
Right.
So trace where all your sound goes there.
So back from the wires, from where the speakers go out from the board, trace it back through the board to see where we may have some parts.
Right, and it just could be touch up all those solder points along the way. Could just be a really bad connection. Of course, it's weird though that it would work with the Pac-Man chips, but not and vice versa, because if it was in his cabinet, we all know that one of the biggest problems with a Miss Pac-Man or a Pac-Man game in the sound is the fuse holder in the
Right.
bottom of the game. But since he's not getting that with the other board, that probably eliminates that.
Exactly. This has got to be something with that particular board.
Yes.
And so, I mean, yeah, I think from let's see what he says here.
You listed all those Pac-Man repair pages. I think some of those talk about sound issues.
Yes,
and
they
some
do.
Things,
And those are actually down in the section below the Lawnmower Man, Pac-Man page, and some of
Yes.
those have some great information on sound, troubleshooting sound issues. I can't think off the top of my head. You're a lot better at that than I am with that
gosh.
stuff. But yeah, I see what you're saying though. Like, see if you can backtrace the speaker wires to the audio section of the board, and then see if there's any parts there that may be causing issues. But we've also seen this with, like I said, improper grounding on the board. Seen that as well.
Correct.
Where, like a lot of times, Tim, we talked about before, with the AC voltage going to the board, you'll burn up some pins on that side. You have to be real careful.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the grounding
That's why
can
I'm
be
really
affected by
worried
that.
about that edge on the edge of the board.
So
and
check
what
the
it
edge
looks
connector
like.
on the board. Make
Check
sure that
the edge connector.
Make sure that the ground is actually getting to the connector.
I've heard a lot of humming and bad sounds. Just
Moving
messing
the edge connector.
messing with that.
Okay, sounds good. So hopefully that'll help out Shane here, Tim. Shane. So because it does sound like he's replaced the caps, and so to me, like I said, it does sound like improper grounding or something in the audio section of the board, which we may be able to backtrace from the speaker pinouts.
True.
So there you go. So okay, let's see. Higsby Zero says, "Hey guys, I asked a question about the Neo Geo. Thanks for the informative show." There you go. So
good.
actually, I think, are we getting to that one? Yes, that's the next one. Check
The
it out.
next question.
So easy
What a
enough.
segue.
Yeah, that's right. Easy enough. So we got a question from Glenn here. He says, "Hello, I just watched your video on where you adjusted an arcade monitor on a Neo Geo 4 slot. I also own this machine and the screen has an issue. Originally, the top inch or so was pulling to the right, but now, once the machine is on for a few seconds, it folds over. That's what I'm told it is called, but I don't know enough to be sure. The screen is squished down with lines going through it. After not being played for about a month, I booted up the machine and was suddenly met with this issue. Any help you can give as to what is causing the problem and steps to take towards fixing it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time. Okay, so Tim, we have Glenn here, and he actually sent the screenshot, and that's what it looks like.
Oh, thank you, Glenn.
So
that
there
really
you
helps
go.
a lot.
So Tim, based on Glenn's information and this screenshot here, what do you think is going on with Glenn's machine?
Oh, Glenn has a classic example of needing a cap kit.
Okay, classic example.
Yeah,
I like
classic. Because, and we're right, Glenn. We do call that fold over. And where you see those lines going across horizontally there, and it's starting to squish some, you really need to do a cap kit on it, and that should help a lot with those issues.
Absolutely. So, Tim, I'm going to throw this up here, and it says, from your pictures in your description, definitely looks like it's time to install a cap kit. Fold over in your picture, such as this, almost always indicates that you have some bad capacitors on your monitor. On your monitor chassis. Installing a cap kit should get you back up and running, and see our post on installing a cap kit for more information on the process. And Tim, I included this little bit for him. If your monitor chassis is the same one in our video, it's a Sharp Image / Cortec KTW-N26.
Okay.
That is the model number. So if you're looking for a cap kit for that, that is the cap kit that you need. If it is not that monitor, then you will need to figure out which monitor you have and buy the correct caps for it.
Correct.
And you can do that the Bob Roberts What's My Monitor page. On the Installing a Cap Kit post, we actually have a link to that page so you guys can do the comparison there. But Tim, I'm with you. Very classic case of needing a cap kit. Correct? Yeah. So there you go. Anything else here for Glenn?
Poster board for it.
Poster boy for it, huh?
Yeah.
There you go. So, well, Glenn, hopefully I answered your question, and good luck getting that monitor back to 100%. Okay, Tim, let's move to Gix, and he says, how do you wire up a coin mech? Pin 16 on the harness? Thanks. Okay, so Tim, just very basic question. How do I wire up a coin mech? Pin 16 on the harness. Yes?
Well, you don't really wire up the mech itself. You wire up the switch below the mech normally.
Sure.
There's different kinds of mechs.
There are some mechs that you actually wire up, correct?
Yes.
But those are few and far between in the arcade games we see.
Right. Most of those electronic mechs are in newer games, so I'm going to assume it's not one of them. We're going to assume it's a classic game like we mostly deal with. What happens is the coin falls through and trips a switch wire. As it does that, that sends a signal back to the board. It actually completes that circuit really quickly and will do something like give you a credit.
Sure.
So we talk about, and we've had some videos and stuff on wiring a switch.
Right.
And the coin switch is just like a push button switch.
Right.
So it's wired normally open and the common wire. You can actually wire it the other way around to normally close so that it would actually coin up on the way back up. The problem with that is every time you turn it off and on, it's going to give a credit.
Sure.
And if you like, let's say you own this game in a game room, if I wired up a game like that at Chuck E. Cheese, wouldn't take a kid long enough to figure out every time he plugged the game in, he'd get a free play.
Sure.
So you want to make sure that you wire it on that normally open. And you got a pretty good picture, John, if you want to go ahead and bring that up.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and show this real quick. And I'll go ahead and read the thing here, too. Well, it's not really the coin mech itself, like Tim mentioned. It is the coin switch that's positioned directly below the mech. That's what we want. This switch is where the coin lands on once it falls through the coin mech. In order to wire this up, you will need a coin switch wire and a ground wire. Where the coin switch wires are in your harness depends on the pinouts of your game board. If you have JAMA, of course, it is at pin 16.
We're assuming he has JAMA because he knew that already.
Exactly,
He
right.
said pin 16. That's good.
Right, exactly.
But you may be wiring up a switch in a Miss Pac-Man or something else, maybe in a different location, so know your wiring.
Check your pinouts. Right, exactly. Make sure you check the pinouts of your board in order to find the location of your coin switch wires. But Tim, it really is that easy. Just all you need to do is just basically you need a coin switch and a ground wire to that button or to that switch, and that's it, right?
Right.
Coin switch wire and the ground
Normally
wire.
we put the ground on the common and the switch wire on the normally closed. Normally open. You're right. If you were to mix them up, it wouldn't matter because all it's doing is completing that circuit.
Exactly.
Kind of like touching the two wires together. But normally that's how we would wire it up.
Sounds good. So, Gix, hopefully I answered your question, and good luck wiring up your coin switch. Now, Tim, we got a question. Have we discussed the Arcade 1-Up stuff yet? Not yet, Tim, and it looks like it's probably going to be another 30 minutes or so until we do that.
So?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably closer to that because we still have a couple of discussion questions here, Tim, that we have to get through before we get to that.
And a tech tip.
And a tech tip, that's right. So we have a little bit more, 30 minutes, maybe another 45, so maybe a little bit longer. We're running a little bit behind, guys. Sorry about that if you're here. But come back in about 30, 45 minutes, and hopefully we'll be closer to where we are. Right?
All right.
So there you go. Okay, Tim. And Shane says, thanks for the suggestions. Love your show. So there you go. Thank you, Shane, for that. So, okay, let's continue on here. And Tim, I believe this is the last question, and it is from Gus. And he says, hey, guys. I used to have a couple of arcade games when I was a bachelor and put them in storage in 2005 when I got married. I decided to get back in the hobby and pulled my Lethal Enforcers out, and after some cleaning, it still worked. I want to look into a few games with non-traditional controls like pole position and afterburner. So we're working on games that have a steering wheel, gas pedal, flight stick, and or throttle, more complicated to repair than push buttons and joysticks. I imagine replacement parts are rare and expensive. I enjoy working on games, but don't want to get in over my head regarding hard-to-find parts or complicated repairs. I grew up in the 80s, so I like games from that era. Thanks for the great shows and videos on repair. So, Tim, I really like Gus's question here because he's really asking, I mean, it's a very simple question. Are non-traditional controls, like flight sticks, steering wheels, throttles, are those tougher to repair than traditional buttons and joysticks? And so, Tim, I'm going to let you answer that because you've worked on a lot of both. So.
I like that question, too, because this is kind of one of those yes and no answers.
Sure.
It's not any harder to repair once you get there. The problem is getting to the part that you need to replace. Whereas on a normal control panel, like this Galaga behind us, we flip it up and there's the button right there. It's easy to get to. Whereas if it's a pole position with a steering wheel, we got to take a lot of stuff off, and sometimes just getting to the part takes a little longer, but it's not that hard. It's not that difficult to repair.
Sure.
In fact, if you'll stay tuned, our next tech tip may even help with that.
There you go. Well, Tim, so overall, would you say yes, no, or a combination?
I say that it's easy. It's just as easy to repair, but a little more time consuming.
Okay, I understand, because you have to. It's kind of like working on a car. Some cars have like the parts right there, and sometimes you have a Porsche that has the engine underneath the car is a lot harder to get to the parts for.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's go ahead and answer it like that then. While we wouldn't necessarily say that working on controls other than joysticks and buttons are more complicated, that games with those are more complicated to repair, they are definitely different. Most of the controls you mentioned use potentiometers or optos to interface with the board. It's just a matter of checking them to make sure they're working properly. And Tim, like you mentioned though, sometimes getting to those parts can be quite a challenge, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. So potentiometers and optos have values. The value is usually the max, like whenever we have a value on a potentiometer, for instance, that's usually the highest value that potentiometer puts out, right?
Yes.
And so you just need to make sure that if it's a potentiometer, it's installed properly and functioning properly, or if it's an opto, that it's reading properly, that you're getting good values when it does it. I mean, those are the key things to do. Just make sure that they are changing value when you turn that joystick, or you move that flight stick.
Right.
Or when you turn that steering wheel, or you move that flight stick.
Or the gears are lined up and they're turning and doing what they're supposed to.
Exactly. And so that's really what it comes down to. So you just need to make sure that whatever interface that particular, whatever it is using, if that's, like I said, a steering wheel, if that's a flight stick, you just need to make sure that whatever parts interface with the board concerning that are working properly, whether that's an opto, a potentiometer, what else, Tim? Anything else that you can think of that interfaces with boards, if that's a...
they may have a separate I/O board or something,
right.
But most... flight sticks or something do hit switches just like a joystick.
So yeah, exactly.
So they're pretty simple. They're pretty common, or they will have the optos or something that does it.
There you go. So not necessarily more difficult, just maybe a little bit more difficult getting to those parts. But for the most part, pretty simple as far as troubleshooting, right, Tim?
Yes.
So there you go. So guys, hopefully answers your question, and hopefully you're encouraged to get more games that have non-traditional controls, thanks to what we've told you here. So. Okay, Tim, well, that was actually the last question, and that segues really good into the tech tip, but we have some questions from the live show, so we'll go ahead and get to those. Hans says, hi, guys, do you know if Bob Roberts' store is going to ever open again? I need some parts for my games, and I miss his moon pies. Unfortunately, we do not know if Bob Roberts is going to open again. Tim, right now, odds are, I think no.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of retired as far as that's concerned. We haven't heard anything otherwise, so at this point, we're going to assume no. But if we hear anything different, we will definitely give you an update. We miss Bob Roberts too. But his website still has a ton of great information, especially if you're just now getting into arcade repair. Highly recommend going to the real BobRoberts.net, realbobroberts.net, and checking it out, especially if you're a new-ish arcade repair technician.
Right.
So there you go. Kyle says, hey guys, love your show. I have a question. My Pleiades cocktail has a Sanyo 13-inch monitor, and the monitor shakes vertically excessively. Is it the B plus voltage?
It could be, or a filter cap in that area.
Yeah, it could be a filter cap around the B plus.
Yes.
Because the B plus is usually around your high voltage area of the monitor, so you do want to make sure that all the parts in that area are working well as well. And it may be worth touching up the solder on that, because cold solder joints can also cause that kind of shaking in the picture as well.
Right. Of course, you would know that by reading the voltage,
right?
And seeing if it's changing quickly or
if it's pretty steady.
Pretty steady, exactly.
There you go. Sounds good. So hopefully that helps you out there. So check the B plus voltage on the monitor. Check for any parts around the B plus voltage to see if they're functioning properly, and touch up the solder on that monitor. Hopefully that'll help with the excessive shaking. Tim said, Sonic Brad says cool Tempest shirt.
Yeah, it is a cool shirt.
So there you go. Tim
Brand
says, yeah, do black and white monitors need a different procedure to discharge the tube than color tubes? A friend said this may be the case with Old Space and Mirrors cabinets. Yes. So with black and white monitors, you really want to use a high voltage probe.
Correct.
Which we have talked about in previous live shows, Tim. But a high voltage probe, basically what it does is it sucks down the juice into the probe. Whereas in a slower fashion than what we have with the screwdriver. The screwdriver, when it does it, it just pops.
Right.
And so all the voltage kind of comes out at once. Very well can damage your black and white monitors if you do that. So what you want is a high voltage probe, Tim. They run about, what, $50, I think?
Yeah, it looks like a big turkey baster, kind of. That's what they look like. And you stick it up in there, and it sucks out the voltage, and it'll drain. You usually have a little little gauge on there, and it'll show you when it's safe.
Now, you can take the screwdriver and add a resistor to it, and it works too. I've heard that before. Okay. But I prefer the high voltage probe.
Yes, they're not that expensive. And
yeah,
they're
exactly.
Good to have
$50, $60, something like that. We have links to them on some of the other live shows we've done, but definitely want to use a high voltage probe on black and white tube monitors. That'll make sure you don't have any damage to the monitor. Scott says, the world needs good people like you guys, just saying. There you go.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Let's see. Oh, and a +1. There you go. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think we're caught up. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about potentiometers, some about optos, but different interfacing with different controls, Tim. Now, the thing about it is, though, is that potentiometers are used in a lot of different places in arcade games, right?
Right. And you know, when you're first learning, we want to discuss what is a potentiometer and how do they work and what do they do? Okay, how do you hook up one?
So let's go ahead and move into Tim's tech tip, Tim, and that sounds exactly like what we're going to cover. So tell us what your tech tip is. Okay, and I've got the slide up here so you can read it.
Well, working with potentiometers in arcade games, there are two main things that I think of when I think of potentiometers. One is a volume control. Have you ever bought one of those Chinese like slot machines and they are blaring loud?
Oh, yeah.
And you can add a pot and control that. So this is good information to know. So volume control is important. Also, the steering, like on driving games and stuff, use a potentiometer to...
like we said, sometimes optos, but sometimes potentiometers. It depends on the game. But
a lot of racing games use potentiometers or steering and stuff. And then the controls that we use to adjust our monitors and stuff, those are potentiometers. We need to know how to wire those up and what to do with those and how to replace them. The main thing I want to talk about first is the one on the left. You guys see that 5K pod. That is, if you guys remember, some of you aren't old enough, but when I was a kid, John, first thing you could do in my car, you could pull the knob off for the volume. Under that was that potentiometer looking thing right there. It would be sticking out at you, and you could turn it by hand, and but the knobs were always falling off, and you had to glue them on there and keep them on there. That is a 5K pot. Now, there's different kinds of, there's a 250K, there's a 1K, there's all kinds of, that's 5,000. What we're talking about is a variable resistor. In other words, it lets some resistance come through, and the more it does, that tells the game to do something. By more resistance, we allow more volume to come through and makes it louder. Or you're telling it to go left or go right or to do something based on where the variance is.
Sure.
So that's what we're talking about with a potentiometer.
Now, when we say 5K, though, that's the potentiometer value, and that's the maximum value, correct?
Right.
That the potentiometer can go to. A lot of times it'll go all the way down to 0, or maybe not all the way to 0, but close to it.
Yes, and so there's a range there. Way a potentiometer works is it's round like this, right? Inside, the middle pin is called the wiper. And so think of it like a car window wiper. And as it turns, it allows more through this way, or it makes that area smaller where the resistance is really tight,
right,
and won't allow as much through there. So potentiometers, guys, you need to learn how to work on them and how to test them. One way to test them is it's a 5K, that's ohms, 5,000 ohms. So the ohms, guys, you might know, is it looks like an upside down horseshoe.
Yeah, I didn't put the. I should have put a little symbol.
And that's how you turn on your meter and you read those across there. You can see that potentiometer changing, so you will know if it's not changing value or it's staying stuck in one area, you got a bad pot.
Now, we have a video on checking potentiometers with a multimeter that you can go to reference, and it'll actually show you how to do that. So if you guys want to see that, that video is very helpful.
So we're not going to go into a lot of details there, but I do want to, again, talk about the different kinds of pots that we have in games. The last thing we really want to just go quickly is on a volume, because I have seen that, like I said, I can think of that slot machine that's blaring loud. I remember I hooked up a potentiometer. Look at the one on the right for volume. I hooked up one for a couple that had a slot machine. They were just, they never wanted to play it because it was so blaring loud, or they would unplug the speaker and it was no fun because it didn't work. So, guys, if you look at that picture on the right, you'll see that there are 3 places that you could hook up a wire. On most of all these, you'll see that there's 3 locations. On the 5K pot over there and on the 25K pot on the right, they're actually labeled 1, 2, and 3. Now, the 2 would be your input wire from whatever source, your board or whatever. Then the one on the right goes to your output. The first one you could run a ground wire to if necessary, but you want to run it to them to 2 and 3. Those are your speaker wires, and one goes from the game to there, the other one goes to the speaker.
And Tim, this one that we have here is actually the Holland Computers one,
from
hollandcomputers.com, and it actually comes with 2 of the wires soldered on, which is really helpful. So those go to the speaker, I believe, and then of course you hook up the inputs from the board that you have, and so that one's kind of pre-wired to do that, which is really helpful.
But we've had questions like where a guy says, I'm trying to adjust, let's say the second picture there, the contrast, and it's not making any difference.
Right.
Well, you could put it on ohms. It's probably 100 or something. You can you might have to play with that to get what it is. That should change as you go closer to 0 and closer to 100, or whatever the 0 to 1,000, whatever the value is. As you turn that wiper moves around and should allow more in there. If that's not changing, you got your meter, you would have to put it on the other side of your chassis where the 2 solder points are. Then you would know that pot is bad. It's not making any difference.
Now, something, Tim, I also put on here was the trimmer pot, which is the first, second, third one from the left. The trimmer pot is what we call a pot with no knob. Basically a potentiometer with no knob. And Tim, a lot of people see these and they have no idea what they are, but these are very common on monitors.
Right.
And in order to adjust them, you really have to use a screwdriver or a TV alignment tool or something like that. And so you may think you don't have any potentiometers on your monitor, for instance, but you may just have a trimmer pot or trimmer pots instead of traditional knob-based potentiometers.
So what you would do is stick that TV alignment tool, which is flat, like a little flathead on the end. You put that in there, and you'll feel it turn, or you'll see it turn.
Right.
And as it turns, again, you could read with your leads on the bottom, where you could read the resistance, and you would see if that's working or not. But yes, you're right. A lot of people have told us I can't adjust it. There's no adjustment knobs. That's probably why, because it's that trimmer style.
And we actually did do a video on adjusting potentiometers without a knob. And you can go back, watch that video, and that will show you how to do that. But Tim, one of the things I thought was interesting is we talked about steering, we've talked about volume, but a lot of people don't realize that some gun games also use potentiometers, correct?
Yes, they do. That's to tell them where direction, like up, down, left, or right.
Sure.
We have a gun game, Jurassic Park. It's a newer style Jurassic Park, where you use a gun. It still has potentiometers on it, because one reads up and down, one reads the left and the right. Now, here's one thing, a tip, that when you go to replace a potentiometer, make sure that you put it in the middle. And how would you know the middle, John? You would turn it all the way one way, all the way the other way, then kind of in the middle. That's your middle. You want to adjust it, and then I would set the gun to where the middle. so that when I put it in there, as I go up, I'm actually turning the gear that hooks on the end of that stem of the pot. You want to make sure that gear is on there and that it is the middle and your gun is sitting in the middle or wherever else. So that's another tip just for changing those out. Hope that helps a little bit.
Sounds good. Well, Tim, anything else for your tech tip, or is that it?
No, if we have any questions, please feel free to ask. But potentiometers are used a lot in arcade games. A lot of people call them pots just for short.
Right.
It's not because that Nolan Bushnell was smoking pot when he made Pong or something. I don't know anything about that.
Sure.
But, we heard rumors. But at the same time, a pot is short for potentiometer, which does some kind of variable resistance or a volume or does some kind of changing that values changing so that the game knows what to do at a certain value.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully you guys learned a little bit from Tim's tech tip this month. And Tim, I'm sure you're going to be bringing us another great tech tip next month in our live show. So
Surely.
Thank you for that information. Now, Tim, it's time to get into the discussion section. We have about, 15 minutes until we're to the point where I told everybody to come back. So hopefully we'll get there. But the very first thing we have here, Tim, is something that came from our friends at 8-Bit Central. And this is a very big topic, it seems like, Tim, right now. And the topic is that my local arcade chain switched from tokens to swipe cards and removed physical redemption tickets. Now, Tim, this seems to be something that's happening in a lot of places, right? I mean, you guys are no longer on tokens, right?
No.
And a lot of places aren't. And some places are even doing away with the physical tickets. Okay, and so he says, on a recent trip to my model arcade, we gave Spaceballs a whirl and I won 10 tickets. My disappointing magic number. However, no tickets came out. I paused and then saw a sign by the dual dispenser stating that ticket values automatically go onto your account. No more tickets. Don't kids like having armfuls of tickets? Sounds like old man here.
Yeah.
I understand that removing the tickets cuts cost in a variety of ways, but when redemption machines redeem via a wireless network, well, that's kind of dull. It's fun to see tickets come flying out. So, Tim, I thought this would be, you actually thought this would be a good thing to debate.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do, Tim. And tonight's arcade debate topic: should arcades use digital card systems, credits/e-tickets, instead of traditional tokens and tickets? Okay, so that's what me and Tim are going to debate tonight. And Tim, I think it is time to get in our boxes. Oh, we're here.
All right.
Okay. So, as you can see from the bottom, guys, this is what we're going to be debating tonight, Tim. I'm going to take a little break here, and we'll reset for a second. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the arcade debate segment for tonight. And, Tim, we will be discussing, should arcades use card systems like e-credits, e-tickets, instead of traditional tickets and tokens? And so, Tim, this was actually one that you suggested. So I'm curious to see what position you're going to take. So should arcades use card systems over the traditional tokens and tickets?
Well, I'll go with the operator side and say yes. From simply a cost perspective of how much it costs and the labor that's involved and coin jams, fixing that kind of stuff, and tickets, and the cost of tickets themselves, I'm going to have to say that we should do that. Now, as a player, John, or especially as an adult parent with little children now, how do you feel about that?
Well, here's the deal, Tim. I see your point, but I think I still like traditional tokens and tickets, okay? And so we'll go from there, and Tim, I'll tell you why. Here's the deal. When I give my kid tokens, they know exactly how much they have. A lot of times with these credit systems, when they don't know how much they have till they actually scan a card. And so I think it's harder for kids to keep up. Now, that may be a benefit for you as an arcade operator, for them not knowing how many credits they have. But in my particular case, if I give a kid 5 tokens, especially when you guys had the all games 1 token, I know that they have 5 plays on a machine. They know they have 5 plays on a machine, and it's easier for them to keep up with. But not only that, I, like we talked about earlier with the article that we were mentioning from 8-Bit Central, I like seeing people win tickets. And the fact that tickets go on a card is just not nearly as exciting. There's something about seeing a kid with an armful of tickets in their hand that just really makes me feel good. I mean, or seeing a redemption machine just go off and just spit out 1,000,000 tickets. It just looks like one of the coolest things, and I think it adds to the excitement of the game room and the excitement of the people in attendance. Your response?
Well, when you spend about a penny of every one of them tickets you see a kid bringing in, you'll understand how much cost goes into your overall cost of the whole arcade is based on those tickets. Not just, and maybe they could afford to get some better prizes, excuse me, if they didn't have the tickets. Now, I agree, but I have seen a change. For one, I hardly see a 3-year-old today can turn on an iPad and know how to use it. So we kind of have gotten away from that argument of kids won't understand, they don't know how to use it. Kids pick it up actually fairly quickly. And at any time you can go to the kiosk and you can tap your card to see how much is left on there. Plus we can do things before, like what about a half a play? What if I want to say all games are half off? I can't take a half a token, but I can take a half a point through my card-based system.
So on the card-based system, here's the deal. I feel like the kids, yes, I don't think it's too complicated for them. I think they understand it fine. I think the thing is they have no idea how many plays they have left. They have no clue. If I give you 5 tokens and I say you can go play games, and I know all games are a token, I know you got 5 plays. Kids will just sit there and swipe the card until they run out of credits. They don't care how much, they're not keeping up with it. And I think there's something to be said about having 5 tokens in the hand and playing 5 games, and they know how much they have. I mean, it's like it's right there in front of them. I understand you have the little swipe cards where you can see how much you have, but kids just aren't good at adding up that math in their head, I don't feel like. And so the physical tokens, I think, help. Now, I understand the cost of tickets is high for you as an operator. You've got a lot of tickets, okay, that's fine. But here's the deal is that don't you want the excitement level in your game room to be high? And I feel like the paper tickets, like I said, seeing a kid hold up like 500 paper tickets and just go crazy, there is something so extraordinary about that it's worth to me the price that you have to pay, a penny per ticket or whatever it is, in order for that kid to hold up those 500 tickets and say, I won something. And you know, it's kind of like seeing the fruits of your labor. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I see the fruits of my labor. I won these tickets. And so I think from that perspective, it's worth the cost to the operator to see the paper tickets.
Well, I agree to an extent, John, because we have been in arcades where we won a lot of tickets, and to see all those tickets spit out. So what I think that most operators are doing, they're going to a screen animation where it will either make sound, the game will do, should sirens and lights should go off, and then on the screen you have the virtual tickets, in other words, splattering out or rolling out, so that you would know, oh wow, I won. It kind of gives you a little bit of that same effect while saving costs at the same time. So I would highly recommend that if an operator wants to go to a ticketless system or e-tickets, that number one, they give out more because you are saving money, and number two, that you do some kind of animation because there is some thrill into winning like that.
Now let me also say this, Tim, something about nostalgia. And I know I'm going to get on my old man soapbox for a second, but there is something about putting tokens in the machines that makes me feel happy. There is something about winning physical tickets that makes me feel happy. And maybe it's just because I have been programmed like that from the time I was born, and I've been going to arcades my entire life, and that's the way they've always worked. But Tim, there's a nostalgia factor for me that I cannot deny that plays very heavily into the fact that I like tokens and tickets.
Well, John, I agree. Every Christmas you should handwrite your grandmother and send her a card.
Right.
But for the most time, you're going to text me or email me or send me a quick note. And I think that that's where we're evolving to, is that some things we're going to have to let go in order to progress on to the newer stuff. I think kids these days are growing up in that modern age of technology where they're used to it, where they see it. And I think as long as you're able to get a better price, they would give up the tickets. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You say that you're going to get better prizes. I think you're just going to put the extra money in your pocket, but that's just me. But if you do get better prizes, that's, I see your points. I understand where you're coming from. And, one factor for me, I like the fact that it's more environmentally friendly not to have them, but I just really like having tokens and tickets.
Imagine a school group of 200 kids are there at Chuck E. Cheese the day you came, and you don't have to sit there in line at the ticket muncher waiting to munch your tickets.
That is true, Tim. I understand. So, well, I think we're going to leave it there, guys. We're going to leave it there. We'll let you decide. We'll read some of the responses here from the live show chat. But remember, if you're watching this on Twitter or Facebook, you can chime in the comments section there as well. Thank you for joining us for this arcade debate segment tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, what say you?
Okay. Well, Tim, I think that does it for this. I got to get out of this box. Man. Oh, okay. We're better. Ooh.
I need a drink. I was getting choked. I don't know why. Sorry, guys.
There you go. So let's go ahead and read some of the responses here. Let's see. I live near Fort Worth and was wondering which Chuck E. Cheese you work with. Somebody actually asked that. That was from Tim. You actually work here in East Texas.
Texas.
Not Fort Worth.
But I do work sometimes, and I'm familiar with most of the stores in the Dallas area.
Right. So Andy says, eliminating physical tokens and tickets is lousy for customers. It loses part of the experience. You'll have nobody playing in your arcade that you're saving so much money on your tickets on. So there you go. Nobody will be playing in your arcade, Tim. Might as well go home and play Fortnite.
Okay.
So there you go. Let's see. Sonic Kubrak says, nah, people will go to an arcade anyway. And I think so too. Let's see. Are you running an arcade to make as much money as possible, or is it because you love running an arcade? It depends.
Yeah.
Some people, it just depends on where you are. Silly Sausage 72 says, can you imagine tickets coming out of a Miss Pac-Man machine? So, Tim says, tokens and tickets are awesome. I miss them. Andy says, just let the kids buy lottery tickets instead. There you go. Whatever. Andy said, okay, just, that's, I think it's funny. What are your, somebody says, on the debate topic, what are your opinions about CRT versus LCD? I switched to Geo7 to an LCD, and I could not tell a big difference. We actually covered that in one of our segments, didn't we?
Yeah.
So you'll have to go back, Gus, and see that segment. I can't remember which one it was on.
Maybe the first one.
Maybe the first one. We did do a CRT versus LCD debate.
Like 4 months ago.
Yeah, so it's also on Facebook, Tim, because we always post the arcade debate segments up there. So, but newer tech is not always better tech, Tim. Newer tech is not always better tech.
Yeah, good for me.
Yeah, win. So there you go. Okay, so
I can tell you this much is probably coming regardless.
Exactly.
And when we take the debate topics, we're just picking a side because I feel that way. I do like the ticket part of it, but I've also been sitting there waiting when tickets run out for somebody to come over there, or standing in the line waiting to turn my tickets in. It does get a little long sometimes. So I understand where they're going with it.
Okay. Guys, if you're here for the Arcade 1-Up, we're almost there. We got one more piece of news to cover, Tim, and then we're going to be to the Arcade 1-Up. So, Tim, let's go ahead and move on real quick. And this one, Chuck E. Cheese calls out Build-A-Bear in new promotion. Tim, this is from the Houston Chronicle. In a move that plays off the success and subsequent failure of the Build-A-Bear's Pay Your Age Day promotion, Chuck E. Cheese is now offering a similar deal on its new all-you-can-play deal. The children's entertainment company posted a Facebook message offering parents the chance to pay a child's age for 30 minutes of unlimited play on Friday, July 13th. And so, Tim, obviously you guys here were trying to cash in. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, the Build-A-Bear promotion was pretty wildly successful. Or terrible, depending on how you look at it.
I think they lost about half their employees that day.
Yeah, so basically they ran a promotion where you got to Build-A-Bear for what the child's age was. So, which, apparently got everybody to come to Build-A-Bear. It was amazing, Tim.
So a 4-year-old, you paid $4
for the bear only.
Okay,
so, not the dresses or the shoes or anything like that. I just went to Build-A-Bear last night, or night before last, and I did the same thing because it was my daughter's birthday. We got the birthday bear for $5 because she turned 5.
Okay.
But the dress cost 10, the shoes cost 7.
Right.
So, and the carrier cost 5. So I got out of there, it was like $30.
Oh.
So I'm just saying.
But she was happy.
She was very happy. It's her birthday.
And it was cheaper than if you would have went the day after her birthday,
That's
right?
exactly correct. So, or you can go throughout the whole month for that promotion.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway. So you guys were trying to cash in on this. So you did all you can play for 30 minutes for the age of the child. Now, Tim, you were there that day. How did this go? How was it received? Did you have a lot of people who participated?
Well, I think they didn't promote it well enough. They did kind of ride on the coattails of that. And it was so quick. Like, I think I called you one day. You were talking about bringing the kids to Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, I don't know why, but we're extraordinarily busy today on a Thursday.
Right.
And I thought that was so weird. And you were like, oh, it's because of Build-A-Bear. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I hear all these people out there talking. It was crazy. We were in line at Build-A-Bear for 4 hours, and we finally gave up and came to Chuck E. Cheese. So I understood then and found out later. So Chuck E. Cheese tried to capture that moment. And I think that was kind of cool. I did write my electric company, and I said, can we have a pay your age electric bill this month? I think we should keep this rolling.
Right.
And our pay your age gasoline price.
There you go.
A lot of stuff like that. But
pay your age gasoline price per gallon would be way expensive.
And mine, yeah. But Anyway, none of it went over good. I did like the promotion though. Once again, we were able to do it because we were coinless, and we were all we did was go in there and program, and kids come in and say they were 8 years old, cost $8, which is kind of the new thing that we're doing. That we are able to do now because we don't have tokens is offer those type of days, and there'll be more of them for sure.
Sure.
I do kind of like the promotion. I think a good idea would really realistically be like a baseball game. I think would be cool. You pay your kid's age.
Sure.
Anytime. I mean, they could afford that.
Some baseball stadiums are kids getting free with an adult ticket.
Yeah, so
Baltimore's like that.
I thought it was kind of cool. Build-A-Bear obviously was not the best planned out idea,
right?
And I don't know that they'll ever do that again. One day, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe the birthday they'll push a little bit more. But that was crazy.
It was crazy.
I mean, videos of just
news reports. You guys can look at the YouTube videos. There's people everywhere. Our mall, they were wrapped literally all the way around the mall. The line was.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was just a crazy promotion. But who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And that just shows, though, there is a market for people looking for entertainment for their kids.
Right.
So so to encourage everybody, why not come up with something kind of out of the box thinking? I think it's kind of fun. We did enjoy that next day where a lot of kids came in, were able to pay their age, and when they capped it at $9. So if you're 15, you can still pay $9.
Right.
So
is that how much it normally is for a 30 minutes of free play?
It's normally $20 an hour or $5 every 15 minutes at our store. So I think they do give you a break. $9 for 30 minutes is like a normal web kind of price. But of course you can get discounts and coupons and stuff. But and they'll try some more stuff. Definitely for birthday parties and stuff.
So free play for 30 minutes for $9.
Yes.
Not bad.
And I would say this, that if you have little kids, you're not going to profit.
Right.
I would say if your kids, say your daughter's age,
no,
because they want to ride the rides and those take a while.
Exactly.
You get 30 plays for $10 anyway.
But those quick play games like Cyclone.
Somebody that wants to play those really quickly and win a lot of tickets, by far, the all you can play is the way to go.
There you go. So thank you, Tim, for talking about the Chuck E. Cheese promotion. And you guys can do the pay all you can play deal. Of course, you can't pay the age, but it's only $9. So if you guys are at Chuck E. Cheese, you want to do that, still a great deal, right, Tim?
Yeah. And so I guess the question to the chat room or to the Facebook page today would be, what kind of promotion would you throw? What would be your promotion with something like that?
Sounds good. So, Tim, I'll go through some of the stuff in the chat real quick. It looks like, let's see. Gus says, waiting on high school student working behind the counter to count on 1,000 tickets was like watching paint dry. So, yeah, that is part of it. At Dave & Buster's, they have scales.
Yes.
So, I mean, scales make that a lot faster. Hans, changing your arcade swipe cards and eliminating tickets is disrespectful to your patrons. I don't know if I go that far, Andy, but I understand. Swipe cards are the modern age of arcade. Kids like me enjoy them. Hans says, I really love swipe cards. They make me feel like I have a credit card.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true.
We were teaching them early.
I have unlimited credits on my card. That's what Matt says from Matty Mo's Arcade. Let's see. Just play the games on your phone then. Andy says, a little bit of back and forth. Matty Mo says, great shirts, guys. So there you go. Got a nice Tempest shirt on. I've got mine on. Let's see. Oh, there you go. There's an argument going on about all sorts of modern versus old school tech, so we're not going to get too much into that.
Okay, well, let's go.
Here's what a lot of people have been waiting for.
Arcade up.
So let's give a little bit of information here. Now, Tim, the biggest thing we want to talk about here is the Arcade 1-Up cabinets are now available to pre-order.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's what we're going to show here. Okay. Arcade 1-Up pre-orders are now live. Order from Walmart, GameStop, Bed Bath & Beyond today. And Tim, that's a link to their Facebook post. And of course, now you can own a home arcade unit with your favorite games. The Arcade 1-Up units are 3/4 scale arcade cabinets, about 14 feet tall, and feature your favorite games, including Asteroid, Centipede, Rampage, Street Fighter 2, and more. And of course, $299, Tim, is the price that they are right now. Don't know if that's going to change or not, but at some point it will. And Tim, that's at GameStop and Walmart. So Tim, we have some news here that I really haven't heard many people talk about. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about this real quick. Now, Tim, we posted this picture on our Facebook page,
right,
of what it looks like to play, so people can get an idea of the actual size of the thing. Okay.
Yes.
So, and we would encourage you to check out our arcade debate segment from live show episode 13. That's March 2018. Are the Arcade 1-Up cabinets worth the $400 price? Tim, at that time, the MSRP was $400. Right now, they are selling for $300.
Right.
So some of the comments in that may be a little bit different. But if you're looking to buy one, please see the picture to the left. Okay?
Yes.
Please see that picture. That picture gives you a great idea of about the size that they are. Okay? So now, we posted that picture, Tim, and Arcade 1UP actually responded and said, we have been very clear on social media and all of our marketing materials that the machines are 3/4 scale. They are more friendly for home use as they are portable and only weigh 60 pounds. And Tim, we did not post that picture to offend Arcade 1UP in any way.
Right.
We posted that picture so that people who are interested in buying them would know exactly what they're getting.
Yeah, because even when we were arguing over it, we
Sure.
said 4 foot tall didn't sound that small.
No, 4 foot tall does not sound that small.
But when you see it in the picture, it really puts things in perspective.
Exactly.
That is pretty small.
But they have been clear. They have been clear this whole time that
Yeah,
it's a
they're
4
not-
foot tall
right,
arcade,
they're not-
3/4 size.
They're not
60
trying to pull
pounds.
the wool over anybody's
No,
eyes.
not at all.
Or anything. No knock on them whatsoever. But as a collector who's used to these big guys,
Exactly, 6
you're
foot.
talking about a very small game, and unless you're really short or kind of a tiny person, it's just not the same experience as what we normally would like to participate in. In fact, John, we thought about buying one just to put together,
Right.
to see how and give a review on it. And we came really close, and we saw this picture and went and didn't pull the trigger for that reason.
But we may still do that. And
And we
Tim,
may
so let's
have.
talk about real quick. Let's talk about some news here that I haven't seen anywhere else. One, Tim, I think that they do make a riser for this. It's a 1 foot riser. Makes it up to 5 feet tall.
Okay.
So it makes it a little bit taller. And I think it's going to sell for $40, $60, something like that. But apparently there's some pre-orders for the riser at FYE.
Okay.
Okay, so FYE, if you guys go there, apparently you can get a pre-order on the riser itself.
Okay.
So if you guys are looking to pre-order that, FYE apparently has them. The other thing is that GameStop is taking pre-orders for these in the store. Okay?
Okay.
So you can go to your store and pre-order them. It's $100 down, okay? And you can make payments on it until they are released.
Awesome.
Okay, so like let's say that you don't have $300 right now.
Right. Go
Okay,
put it
they're
on
not
layaway.
Exactly. It's basically a pre-order layaway. So Tim, I do this with $60 games all the time. I'll pre-order the game, and then every month before the game comes out, I'll put down $10 or $15.
Sure.
So I'm only out $10 or $15 every month instead of being out all 60 at once.
Right.
And you can do the same thing on this. And Tim, I'm telling you, the GameStop guy was so thrilled that I asked about this.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Because I mean, imagine what that does to his pre-order bonus pool at his store, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to encourage you, if you guys are looking to buy one, might want to check with your GameStop store because the guys there are going to be absolutely thrilled to sell you one.
Sure.
Okay, and you can do, like we said, kind of a pre-order payment plan. You put $100 down, and then you can put more money down before they're released, and that way you can have it paid off by the time that they come out.
So how about, John, let's talk about what do we, besides the fact that it's kind of short, what do we like about it, though?
Well, I like the fact, Tim, that they went to all the trouble of licensing the games.
Yeah.
And they did the artwork really well. The
Right.
artwork on the cabinets themselves is fantastic, I feel like.
I think so, too.
And it has a 17-inch LCD, which for a 4-foot-tall cabinet is pretty big.
Right.
I mean, what do we put in cocktail cabinets, Tim? 19s?
Right.
So, I mean, you're only talking about losing 2 inches over, like, a standard cocktail or a standard, even Galaga has a 19-inch monitor.
So for $299, you're getting a 17-inch monitor.
Right.
Plus a legal game board.
Right.
That if you really wanted to, you could put in something else.
Right.
I mean, it's your board after you buy it.
Right, but I mean, now it is proprietary, okay?
Right.
And they have been very clear about that too. This is a proprietary system, which means modding it's going to probably take a little bit of work, okay?
Okay.
If at all, if it's able to be modded at all, Tim, I'm sure that it'll be able to be modded, but it is proprietary.
Okay.
It uses a ribbon cable, so it is not going to be an easy task to mod it. You will have to do some work to do it.
Okay.
So that's something to keep
So
in mind.
we do like the fact that it has 17-inch monitor.
Right.
We like the fact the artwork is pretty cool and very bright, and you know they did go into some details on that and stuff. And I mean, it is, if anything else, it's reminding and stirring up arcades.
Absolutely.
And they're not dismantling old arcades to do this. They're a brand new game.
Sure.
So it kind of reminds me of the little mini arcade games that we had at one
Absolutely.
time. So I would be interested to see how kids react and like them because they do seem kind of a kid size.
Right. And, and Tim, I think that's the coolest thing is that kids will get a kick out of this. Because it's really right at their size. For, like, my daughter, for instance, I mean, this would be almost right at her size. And she's so used to having to step on a step stool to play my games. This way, I can almost share the game with her without having to get up on a step stool or anything like that. Plus, Tim, the riser, I think, will help a lot. It takes it up to about 5 feet. You're real close to a standard arcade size at that point.
Now, we're talking, another thing is you do get what you pay for. This is not a complete multi-game kit or something or big cabinet you get.
It comes with multiple games, which is nice, but you do have to assemble it. Okay, so that's part of it.
If I was building that, I think their price point is pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a very fair price point. Now, Tim, here's the deal. I hope they sell 1 million of these things. I hope they sell more than they can keep up with the demand for, because I hope that they come up with a full-size version of it.
Maybe so.
I would love to see a full-size version of these guys. And, Tim, I mean, most people don't care if it's like IKEA, cam locked together. Because, I mean, it's not like they're going to be beating on the thing all the time.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think if you had a full-size version with the same games, people would pay another $200.
I think so, too.
So, I mean, I hope they sell so many that they look at full-size versions of these guys. But right now, I think this product is great for console collectors or for the guy who wants to have one game in his, like, man cave or whatever. But for, like, arcade collectors, guys, this product's not for us.
Right.
It's for the people who are console collectors or have a man cave and just want like one game. And Tim, I really do think it's a cool product, and I think the price point is pretty close to what people expect for what you're getting.
Right. What say you guys in the chat room, and also those who are watching later want to comment below and let us know what you think.
Right. And Matty Mo says these will be like the mini Konami and Midway cabinets. Let's see. JR's Vintage Choice says, hey guys, just wanted to say hello. I'm late to the show working tonight. Whoop whoop. So there you go. Thanks, JR, for being here. We appreciate it. Silly Saucer 72 says, I'll buy one just to have. Okay. And, I kind of almost feel like that, too. I really want one. I may... I'm trying to decide which one I want.
I think the price point is there where you don't feel... If you get it and you hate it, you only spent $300.
Right.
You don't really... Does that include shipping?
Yes, it does include shipping.
Wow. I mean, it's really not a bad price.
If you do it at GameStop, of course, you have to go pick it up.
So it's pretty much the price of a console game.
Right.
Or like
a Switch.
Exactly,
a Switch. Yeah. So let's see what else we have here. Let's see.
You could also tote that in the back seat of my car or an SUV.
So I think it is for a different market. This is from Gus. I buy old arcade games for nostalgia and because I like to tinker with them. I like to collect and do not play them that often, just like to collect. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, those, Matty Mo says these are for the console collectors. I agree. I like the fact that it brings the 80s to modern gaming. It does, to a certain extent. Andy says someone should open an arcade full of these and put swipe cards on them and let you win virtual e-prizes. There you go. Curious of the quality and longevity of the controls and buttons. Now, and that's from Tim. And the company reached out to us, like I said, whenever we did it, and we asked them if they'd be willing to send us one. Because if they send us one, we will review it and we'll compare it to a real arcade cabinet and all of that. And they sent the request over to our PR department, but we haven't heard anything yet. So if you guys want, want us to
work for
review
them, or
you can pester their Twitter account and tell them that you want them to send Arcade Repair Tips one for a review. But yeah, we would like to review one and compare it to an actual arcade. Tim, of course, they make a Galaga one. I have a full-size Galaga. I have a Street Fighter 2. They make a Street Fighter 2. I'd love to see the comparison between a real arcade and this, obviously. So
yes. I'd like to see how the buttons feel and hold up, too.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting in the picture that you showed, John,
here we go.
Go back to that picture. There's no two-player asteroids.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's interesting that it looks like two people are playing at the same time, but that's not possible.
Exactly. Machine, they should have been on Street Fighter 2 or something, right? But but like I said, this is just for perspective. And I noticed somebody asked what we're talking about. We're talking about the Arcade 1-Up cabinets. So and there's a link, Tim, I think below if you guys want to purchase them on the Facebook page. So there you go. Let's see. We got a couple more things here. Bernie says, I like to get one of those 1-Up arcade machines, but I don't think I could fit one into my Tetris puzzle of an apartment. So, but now that's the nice thing, though. It's 60 pounds, and you may be able to fit one in your apartment. So,
yeah,
definitely smaller than a real size arcade.
You could probably sit on a toilet and put it across from you and play it.
That's true.
That's just an idea.
Just an idea.
Go in your bathroom, I don't know how waterproof they are.
JR says, I'll just stick with old school arcades. I'm old and I enjoy the original cabinets. Will anybody be creating custom side art for these? Hans asks. Probably. I'm sure we'll see some. So, but I thought the side art's the artwork packages are done really well. I feel like the control panel overlays look like.
Maybe this would be a great idea for Arcade 1-Up. How about just making a plain one,
right,
without any artwork on it, and let people paint and do stuff to it?
Sure, that's it. That's an idea. There you go. So, can you imagine an MK in a little cab like this? Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
So, Silly Sausage. There you go. Yeah.
Well, they got the Street Fighter version.
Street Fighter. There you go. I noticed on the Street Fighter, they had to move the joysticks up. They moved them like parallel with the first row of buttons, and I think that's so you have enough room for your hand to rest there. So, huh. Because usually on Street Fighter, like the buttons, you have the 2 rows of buttons, and the joystick is kind of in the middle.
Can you go back and show the pictures, Sean, just so everybody will know?
This guy right here.
That's the current lineup right there,
right? So they have Asteroids, which has all these have multiple games with them.
So it's Asteroids Deluxe.
I forget. It's Major Havoc is on there.
Oh wow.
I forget what else is on there, but
and then your Centipede.
Right.
Also
Centipede has Missile Command on it, and a couple others. Rampage has Rampage, Gauntlet, Joust, and something else. The Street Fighter one just plays variations on Street Fighter.
Okay.
And then the Final Fight one has not been released yet, and they announced today that's not going to be announced till spring. So there you go.
Nice.
So somebody asked,
and there is a Galaga one that's not shown on there.
Right. Somebody asked, this is a paid promotion? No, this is not.
No, it's not.
We're not getting paid for this, but the company was nice enough to reach out to us, which I do appreciate. And really, right now, Tim, it's one of the most exciting things in the arcade realm.
Yeah, it's just a lot of chatter about it, and we've even got a lot of response.
I mean, there's a lot of people here that were here tonight just to
watch,
just to hear us talk about it. Exactly. So to remind everybody, though, if you want to pre-order one, you might pre-order it at GameStop at your local store because you put $100 down and then you can make payments on it until they are released. And so you don't have to plop that whole $300 down right now, which is a great way to purchase one if you want to. So, Tim, anything else on the Arcade 1-Ups?
No, unless anybody else has a question or a comment about it.
There you go. If anybody else has any other questions, let us know. Asteroids is a 2-player. I play as the Asteroid. Somebody said. There you go. 3 players on a tiny Rampage. That is something I've thought about too.
Yeah.
Because that Rampage is the same size as the rest, and so trying to fit 3 adult players around that, I think will be a challenge. So, but you never know. So there you go. Tim, I think we're going to wrap up the traditional live show part right now.
All right.
So there you go. So I do want to remind everybody here that we want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure to put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you. And we always look forward to your submissions. And Tim, we always like it when people send us videos. Tim, we're here to help get the word out about different channels. So if you're on a YouTube channel and you want some promotion for your channel and it's arcade related, please let us know. We'd love to promote your channel right here. And we've done that in the past, Tim. There's been several episodes that we've done that on. So
and we like to watch arcade repair videos ourselves,
or just arcade videos in general.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. So so if you have any related videos, please send them to us. We'll definitely take a look at them, and we may show them on the live show. And Tim, I do want to mention right now that in the show description right below here, in the video description, our friend Erich has posted a video on his channel, Erich's Arcade. And Erich, of course, Tim, does the question and answer podcast with Rusty. And so he did an 1.5 hour long video on basically the basics of monitors.
Wow.
So that's a long time to watch, I know, guys, but I think it's got some great information in it. And the link is right below in the video description if you'd like to watch it. So basics of arcade monitors, want to know a little bit more about them, please check out Erich's YouTube video, Tim.
If you haven't noticed, 90% of the questions we get seem like they're dealing with monitors.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the toughest things to learn how to work on. So watch that video. That will really help you.
There you go. So, okay, let's continue on here, Tim, and talk about the contact information. Our general email, Tim, is at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Put live show in the subject to get it mentioned on the show. And, Tim, the first question we had tonight actually did that. So make sure that you put live show in the subject if you want to mention on the show. Again, that's at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. We also have our YouTube page, and you're on it right now, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Comments from the last live show will be covered on the next episode. So there you go. Podcast email, podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, that goes to our friends Erich and Rusty, who host the Question and Answer podcast. Tim, they should be having a new episode out very soon, but if you haven't checked out their previous episode, they had Billy Mitchell on.
Yes.
And so if you want to hear something about Billy Mitchell, some of his thoughts on some things, make sure you go to their podcast feed on iTunes or Stitcher and listen to the last show that they did. Great interviews with some great people at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo. So there you go. Again, the iTunes page is itunes.arcaderepairtips.com and stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com for the Stitcher radio page. And then we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. And we want to thank Mark and Louie for doing all of the great moderating and posting stories and just giving feedback and all of the work that they put into that Facebook page. Guys, we want to thank you for doing that. And we want to thank everybody who participates there. And Tim, of course, all the stories from our Facebook page also get cross-posted onto our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. So if you're not on Facebook, join on Twitter. You can also reply to us there. We will take questions there as well. Tim, I think that does it for the live show section of the show here. But we do have an after show where we discuss non-arcade related things. Tim, can you give us a teaser? What are some of the things that we'll be talking about in the after show?
Well, we'll be talking about the stock market. We'll be talking about some movies. And probably some shows, and who knows, maybe some sports, and who knows what else.
There you go.
Maybe we'll just take some random questions from the chat room.
There you go. So if you guys want to hear about some non-arcade related pop culture and other things, stay tuned to the after show and we'll be covering those things there. Tim, I'm going to go through the live chat one more time. Maddie Mo says I have a couple more vids if you don't mind a second plug. Maddie Mo's Arcade on YouTube. You guys check that out. Great information there.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we have here. Hans, does the Major Havoc come with the mini fire extinguisher? So I feel like I have a real Vector. I do not know. That's a good question. Scott says, you could just keep a few machines with tokens and leave the rest to be electronic. Then everyone can still drop tokens in the best old school machines. And Tim, you guys kind of do that. Any games that require tokens spit out a token.
Yeah, some of them require a token to play. Think of a classic game like Smoking Token.
Or a coin pusher.
Yeah, or a coin pusher where it needs a token to go down a ramp and actually score. What we do is you tap it, it gives you the token out of a hopper. The problem is that game was never designed to be tapped, and they are very difficult to convert over like that. But I assume they'll work out. A lot of the newer games were designed with that tap in mind. But I do think the more that, for business, I mean, you know, guys, we talked about it earlier. Don't get me wrong. Chuck E. Cheese is in it for one reason, to make money.
Absolutely.
That's what their job is, and that's what I need them to do.
Right.
To pay me. So,
right.
So I can make more money myself. But what I think as the bigger change, Dave and Buster's go to this, I think that will allow for the smaller barcades to offer, maybe they should go to some ticket games too, to offer that nostalgia feel. So people that really are, I'm not going to play that anymore because I want a token, I want to get some tickets, could go. I think that would open up another market for them and to have that nostalgia. Oh, you can win. You actually win tickets again.
Sure.
So I think maybe that will help if you own that type of establishment. That I think there is going to always be a market, and we like it. We like to win tickets and stuff. So.
Sounds good. Well, Tim, I think that wraps up for the live chat. So we guys are going to get out of here, and we'll see you if you stick around for the after show. If not, thank you guys for joining us for the live show tonight. Hopefully we taught you a little something, and you also learned a little something about Arcade 1-Up cabinets and tokens versus credit card system or card systems, and what else do we talk about? Promotions at Chuck E. Cheese, and of course just general arcade repair. But we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Tim, remember here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game,
we play the game.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you in the after show.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back.
Hey.
Welcome to the after show. Tim, how'd the show go?
I think it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
We had quite a few people in the chat room.
Yeah, it actually looks like we've had some of the best numbers.
Some good questions. The Arkanoid Tempest kind of threw me off because I really didn't know the answer.
Right.
And so I wish that, sometimes the prepared questions are easier because I would look that up. So I really want to try to figure that one out, and I just don't remember, really enough to answer the question.
Well,
so
you can do the research and
I kind of felt like I got stumped, but that's okay.
That's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know everything. We are.
Sure don't.
What's your phrase? We are not the guru gods of gaming.
Yes, we're not the guru gods of gaming know-it-all. We're just trying to help people with what we do know.
There you go.
I can tell you what not to do.
So in the after show, guys, no topic is off limits. So if you have a topic that you want us to talk about or that you want to discuss, then you can throw it out there and we will talk about it. I say no topic.
Yeah,
there are topics, but for the most part, we will answer pretty much any question.
Yeah, so. I'll throw a topic in here that we haven't discussed yet, but I think it would be good for the after show topic.
Okay, you're gonna throw it out to the live chat here?
To the live chat here, because as most people know, I do make several trips to California.
Sure.
So I got to make sure now that I don't put a straw in my my suitcase.
Right.
So is this really are
plastic straws really the danger that everybody thinks they are? Is that what you're gonna say?
I don't know. Yeah, it's like it just seems almost silly to me. But then again, I'm not.
We've had plastic straws forever.
Yeah.
Since the old soda fountain days.
So.
Even before.
Yeah. So, actually at Starbucks they're saying now that because they want to cut out on the amount of plastic and all that, and I get that, saving the environment, all that. I'm not against any of that.
Sure.
But you can request a something, and it comes in a plastic container, whatever, to open it.
Right.
I'm like, okay, we're just
a paper straw.
Yeah, we're a paper straw that comes in a plastic thing. So I'm like, we're just defeating the purpose here, or are you just looking for stuff?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
So
how do you guys feel about the plastic straw?
How do you feel about plastic straws? Okay, I'm with you.
I'm thinking I'm going to smuggle in about 20 of them or more in my suitcase, and I'm going to sell them on the street corner down there in California.
I don't use straws very much, so I guess to me it just doesn't affect me. That's my thing.
I can remember my dad when we go to a restaurant and eat. The waitress say, "Would you like a straw?" My dad, his response was the same every time. "No thanks, I'm gonna drink it."
There you go.
So I guess he didn't like sipping either. He liked to drink it.
I don't like getting ice in my face though. That's the problem with drinking. Sometimes it's like the ice will clump down at the bottom and you'll drink, and then like pours out on you all of a sudden. You get and before you know it, you got some on your shirt. I'm just not a big fan of that.
So I'm just really trying to figure out the deal with the tack on the straws.
There you go. Okay, so Tim, we have an outline. But like we said, if you guys have any topics that you want to talk about, of course, movies and TV shows we always talk about near the end.
Juice box.
There you go. Well, now that'd be difficult. But if you have any topics that you want to talk about, please leave them in the live chat and we'll talk about them. But Tim, let's get an update first. How is our $10 doing? And Tim, I actually put another topic in with your investment talk. So Tim, how is the $10 that we invested a while back doing in your portfolio?
It's down to about $6 now. Remember, I actually sold at $10.50, but we kept up with the stock to see what would happen with it. I sold it at a good time because it definitely went down. And it's strange because all the signs are pointing to there's no reason why. Stocks in general are not doing very good right now.
Correct, yes.
I think there's a lot of tension, a lot of people wondering with all these trade wars and things going on.
Right.
So
really, I think the big thing is tariffs, right?
Yeah, the tariffs.
The unknown about tariffs is really causing a lot of issues in the economy right now.
For instance, Amazon had really great earnings and their stock went down.
Right. But look at Apple.
But Apple did something today that nobody in the history of mankind has ever done. You know what? Remember what that was, John?
Yes.
What did Apple do today that nobody in history has ever done?
They hit $1 trillion.
$1 trillion value in their company. And that's based on the stock price and the amount of shareholders and such that are out there. So can you imagine a company worth $1 trillion? That's just crazy.
Apparently that is higher than the gross domestic product of all but 12 countries in the world.
Wow.
All but 12.
And so congratulations to Apple. And, and to think about it, a lot of people say, well, I wish when 1978 I would have bought some Apple stock. Well, of course, but really you could have bought Apple stock 5 years ago and still made a killing.
Oh, yeah.
Even 10 years ago when the iPhone first come out. And they do stock splits and stuff, so they do keep it affordable. They set that record on the share going $207. To give you an idea, Amazon's about $1,800.
Yep.
So, Amazon is not, I mean, Apple is not that unaffordable if you want to invest in stocks. Or you can do what I do, buy partial shares with my stash account.
Or buy a mutual fund that has them
or
included.
ETF, yeah.
Right, or an ETF, right. So those are the things that you can do. Tim, the thing about it is, though, is that it always makes me think of Forrest Gump. Remember, he's like, we bought stock in some fruit company.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, I mean, it always makes me think about that when I think about Apple stock.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great thing for Apple, like you said, and their employees. Shout out to Joe and Satya, by the way.
Yeah.
So good thing for you guys. But it really, I mean, just shows, though, that the economy has been growing quite a bit. I mean, even though there has been some downtime lately, it seems like up to this point it's been rallying very hard. So
I think so. I think overall it's still strong, but a lot of people are just not seeing the gains that we were seeing earlier in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tim, on all of that bad news, there was an article from Kotaku, Tim, and I actually put it in the video description down below if you guys want to go to it. But it is possible reasons why a hedge fund manager is betting $400 million against Nintendo. Now, Tim, there's a hedge fund manager out there right now that is shorting Nintendo stock. Okay, and to the tune of $400 million.
Wow.
Okay, so for those who don't know about short selling,
yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I did not realize this until recently. I've paper traded some short stocks.
Sure.
And I made a killing the other day, so it's really making me think. Sometimes a stock, you can actually, what's called short a stock. In other words, you can bet, you borrow from your broker and you say, I think this stock is going to go down.
Right.
And you actually say, let's say the stock is trading at, we'll do Apple. It's at 207 now. I think it's going to go down to 150. And you short that stock, you're buying in at 150. And what happens is when it goes down, if it goes down and hits your mark, then you actually get the difference.
Right.
Which is really weird when you think about buying stocks,
Sure.
that you could actually get paid for a stock going down.
Right.
But you kind of make a bet against it. To me, I like stocks because I don't feel like I'm gambling because I do a lot of research and I make a good educated guess. To me, shorting is going into the gambling stage unless you know something. And the other day was the case where a stock went up for completely no reason.
Right.
No reason at all. There was no news. Even the stock people had to announce that they... and what it boiled down to, you have people that will buy millions of shares of a cheap stock just to make it go up, and they'll cash out,
right,
and then watch it fall and cash on the short. So you can make money on the going up and on the going down.
Right.
And not illegal, but still people, it still sticks a lot of people.
Maybe morally
wrong. Yeah. That's why the moral fence. So trust me, there are people that do that. They manipulate the stock market who have money and can do that.
So this hedge fund manager is basically saying that he's betting against Nintendo.
He thinks Nintendo is just not going to make it. And
now here's the deal, though. They keep selling Switches like there's no tomorrow.
That's true.
Okay, I mean, and that is the thing. Obviously, the growth has slowed, but they're still selling a ton of Switches at that $300 price tag. To me, they should be able to, if they did a price cut,
right,
they could get it in even more hands.
And not to mention that they the classic controllers that are still selling.
The NES Classic, the
NES
Super
Classic.
NES Classic.
So they're making money on them.
Right.
So a $400 million bet against them, I wouldn't put it out there.
Sure.
But there was a guy the other day that also said he bet that Amazon was going to. He put what was it? It was a crazy $180,000. And he lost in one day.
Right.
Because he thought they were going to do great. You guys don't want to gamble like that. That really is gambling.
Right.
And so you want to make smart moves, look for companies, and ride their wave either way. But,
And, something, Tim, that I've always preached is just invest in the companies that you spend money with. If you own a Fitbit, throw some money towards Fitbit. If you own an Apple product, why not buy some Apple stock, whatever the case may be? Because obviously, if you're spending money with them, there's other people spending money with them.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to. And so that way you buy in the brands that you trust.
But I definitely hope Nintendo, he loses money on that one because we want to see Nintendo come out with more stuff.
Absolutely.
So hopefully they'll survive that.
I mean, the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic. The NES Classic was the best-selling console last month.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea. So, I mean, they're not hurting. They should not be hurting for money. I don't know what kind of margin they're making on that, but they definitely got revenue.
I think it's probably a pretty high margin, too, once you've produced
There's
them.
not a whole lot tech-wise in those things.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I think they're making probably at least, well, I mean, after wholesaling, maybe like $20 a unit, but they may be making even more than that.
I would think so.
So, I mean, there you go. Okay, so any other investment talk, Tim? You want to give us any stocks to watch or anything like that? Or
I'm really big into energy stocks right now. I think
we should say this. This is all for entertainment purposes.
Yes, right. Don't take anything I say for granted. I won't even mention certain stocks.
There you go.
I will say, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, that the HMMY, which does the Movie Pass, did a reverse split 250 to 1. Which caused their stock to go up from 9 cents to $25. I cashed out before the stock split, and we'll talk a little bit about that later.
So they did a stock buyback? Is that what happened?
They did a split. They reverse split.
Oh, gotcha.
So they cut their number of shares down.
Right, which made them worth more.
Which made them worth more. The problem happened, people lost confidence in them, and they did a big sell-off. It is now, as of a couple hours ago, 14 cents.
Wow,
again,
okay.
From $25.
Okay, and we'll talk about Movie Pass here in a minute, because as we
really hurt.
Right, as we talked about before, Tim has Movie Pass, and so we're going to talk to Tim about some of the issues he's been having with it. If you guys have a Movie Pass, please let us know those in the live chat.
And we talk about Robinhood. We should make a mention that Robinhood made a huge announcement this week.
Yep.
Is that I can now buy and sell 30 minutes before the market close and 2 hours after. And that's a big deal, John. It really helps. For instance, I bought a stock today. I was really thinking about it. Then I realized, they have an earnings announcement. I listened to their earnings announcement at 3 o'clock. It was good earnings. I decided, yes, I should have bought some stock already, but I went ahead for just a few cents more than I could have bought it earlier. But already in a couple hours, it's went up about 20 or 30 cents.
There you go.
So having that extended hours was very helpful.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Robinhood is the platform that me and Tim use as one of our major platforms for trading stocks. It's completely free.
Yes.
And there are links below in the video description. There's my link and Tim's link. If you sign up through one of those links, you get a free stock and we get a free stock.
Right.
So sign up through Tim's link, sign up through my link, whoever you want to support, doesn't matter. There's not a competition here. But we love some free stock. You get a free stock, I get a free stock. Tim gets a free stock.
And it could be a really good stock. I literally have seen people get Facebook, Apple, Zynga, a lot of different ones from $5 up to $500.
There you go.
So you do get a free one, and I get a free one just for you signing up. It doesn't cost anything to sign up. You do have to link your bank account and give some personal information like your social and stuff. We do, but millions of people do it. And so just like a bank account or whatever, I started with $25. And it's a lot of fun just to play or invest in certain
No fee trading, though. That's what's
no fee trading.
No fee trading.
I trade sometimes 30 or more trades a week and I don't pay a dime.
Exactly. You don't pay anything. And the way they make money is they make money on the interest that's in your account that's left over. Because you do have to have a buffer of what you buy. There has to be at least a little buffer amount in that account at all times once you buy a stock.
Right.
And so, you get a free stock, we get a free stock, and then it gets you on your path to investing. And
so if you've never thought about it before, it's a great way to start and not have to pay $6.95 or $4.95
or $3.95
or $10.95 a trade, and you can invest in major companies like Apple, Netflix, YouTube.
A lot of people know I've got Dave & Buster's stock.
I've got
World Wrestling Entertainment.
WWE, Ford. Chevy, all those you can invest.
You mentioned Zynga, Apple, Sprint. All sorts of different stocks out there. And guys, like we mentioned, you can buy shares in pretty much anything that's on the NASDAQ, on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yes.
Anything outside of that. And I think those are the major players.
Yes. A lot of NASDAQ stocks, mostly. Not everything on the New York Stock Exchange, but a lot of them. Mostly big stuff. You can't buy sub-penny stocks on there.
Right.
But you can buy something really cool that you can on a lot of other trading, and that is cryptocurrency.
Right. So if you want to get into Bitcoin, or what's the one? Dogecoin?
Dogecoin. And so a thing that you might not know is I bought some Bitcoin the other day. When I say I bought some Bitcoin, you automatically thought, wow, he put in more than $7,000. No, I put in...
You didn't buy a Bitcoin.
Right. I bought partial pieces of Bitcoin for like $20.
Sure.
Well, if Bitcoin goes up 10%, my $20 goes up 10%. It goes to $22. Or if Bitcoin goes down, it could go down. So I bought Bitcoin when it was low, which I've been following Bitcoin for a while, and I've seen its patterns.
Right.
And as it goes back up, I hope to make about 20% off of that.
There you go.
So easy money there, and also fun that I can buy a small share of Bitcoin. But when we talk about percentages, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's going up, I'm going to make some money off of it.
Exactly.
Without having to spend $7,000 on a Bitcoin.
Right, and like we said, no fees in the trading, so you're not losing any money for buying these stocks.
So if you're sitting there thinking about, trust me, I was in a lot of people's stage, and I've been sitting there, and I could have bought Apple 10 years ago, could have bought Bitcoin for $10, I could have bought Pixar when it was $20. So, it's a good time to...
and just to give people a real-world example, I bought WWE stock at the beginning of the year when it was $35.
Okay.
Now it's at 70-something.
Right.
Okay, I've doubled my money on WWE stock. Now, it doesn't always happen like that, Tim. Sometimes you lose money, sometimes you make money. But it's all about, like I said, buying at the right time and buying in brands, buying in companies you have faith in.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
If you guys have any questions, you can email us, and we will try to answer those also, because I believe that people should be investing in the future, and it helps our economy and everything else go around too.
Right, when these companies make money, you make money.
That's right.
And that's what happens. So there you go. Okay, so enough investment talk, Tim. The next thing is cord-cutting discussion. So, Tim, I cut the cord since last show.
Yeah,
I have cut the
cable.
cord. No more cable. So, what we have done in replacement of that, I have upped my internet speed. I don't know if you guys can tell. I had to change out my router and things, so I don't know if it's working better or worse. We'll find out. But I went with a different package with cable. So all I get now on my cable is my locals.
Right.
Okay, but instead of cable now, I have PlayStation View. Okay, which is a online streaming live TV service. And here's the thing about PlayStation View: you don't have to have a PlayStation to watch it. Okay, it's PlayStation View, but it works on Roku, it works on Amazon Fire TV, works on your cell phone, works on everything. But it is a live streaming TV service that has all the major networks that you could want. So it has FX, it has FXX, it has Fox Sports, it has whatever else you want, Disney.
Most of the basic cable ones.
Exactly. So MLB Network, NFL Network, all that kind of stuff. So by doing that, Tim, I'm saving quite a bit per month.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have cut the cord for a while. What do you guys use instead of cable?
We have Sling TV, and we also, of course, watch a lot of Netflix and Hulu.
Sure.
Probably if you added all what we spend trying to not get cable, we probably spend about what we got in cable. But we feel like we're saving money, and it's spread out. So we do like the Sling TV packages.
So which Sling do you have?
I have the blue, which includes the blue and the orange. I think it's like
the blue and the orange.
$39.99 a month.
Yeah, it's $40 a month.
Yeah, $40 a month. But it's I couldn't watch, and I get a lot of sports. Get all the ESPNs, all the Fox Sports. It gets some movies and stuff, and like, let's say I miss The Walking Dead, I can go back and it watches TiVos, all that kind of stuff for me, so I can watch it later. And there's a lot of movies and stuff built in there. We also use Amazon Prime. So
you see, we had all that, and we had cable.
At
one point. And so we decided, why do we need cable? We don't watch live TV that much. We can do with the streaming service for that. So that's what we did.
I could probably live with just Netflix.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have
live
some
sports,
choices.
Though. Live sports.
Live sports is the key, the kicker, and I think that's what cable's holding on to. I guess
absolutely.
I don't know.
So, but
we
live
still
sports
have to have
deal.
the cable for the internet. So.
Right, exactly. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, right now it's been pretty good. We're still kind of getting used to it. It's taking a little bit. The cable company did allow me to keep my locals here, which was nice. So I don't necessarily need the antenna, but I went ahead and set up an antenna because I didn't know. And so on the outline here, you'll see the HD Home Run and the Tableau. I have both of these. So what these are boxes that you plug an antenna in, they hook to your network, and then they have apps on Fire TV, on Roku, that allow you to watch the stuff off your antenna. So basically, you set up one antenna in your house, and any TV with a Roku stick or an Amazon Fire TV can watch what's on that antenna.
Awesome. And
the Tableau is cool because it actually has DVR built in. It has 64 gigs of memory on it. and so you can actually record stuff to it. The HD home run does not. You have to have like you have to plug that into like a server in order to do that.
Boy, times have really changed though in the way we watch TV. And have you ever watched something on TV now with commercials?
Oh yeah,
it's weird.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, oh gosh, yeah, I forgot.
Now you have Hulu. Do you have the commercial free or do you have the regular?
I guess we have the commercial free. I think it starts with a commercial, and maybe there's one in the end.
I've noticed on...
It's like a middle package or something.
On Hulu, it really depends on what you're watching.
Maybe
if you're watching
show.
New stuff, then there's a lot of commercials.
Right.
But the nice thing I like about Hulu is it actually shows you how long the commercials are.
Right.
So it shows you, like, it's 120 seconds or whatever it is.
And Sling has commercials, but they're, like, shorter.
Right.
And they don't, might have two.
Right.
2 commercials, and you're right back to your show. It's weird. Yeah.
And PlayStation View is really good, but, every time I tell somebody we have PlayStation View, the very first question I get is like, do I have to have a PlayStation for that?
Right.
No.
I would have thought you would have, too.
It is Sony's live TV streaming service. They should have named it Sony View.
Okay.
Okay, because the only reason I have it plugged in the PlayStation is because you do get a discount if you're a PlayStation Plus member on some things.
Okay.
So, which is kind of nice. But otherwise, no, it is just a live streaming TV service. And Tim, it's one of the only ones that has MLB Network, which is a big one for me because I like MLB, so I like baseball a lot. So,
right.
It was nice to have that. So
after cutting the cord, though, what all did you buy? Did you have to upgrade anything?
Yeah, so I had to buy a new cable modem because I increased my speed, so I had to get a new cable modem and a new router.
Okay.
Okay, and then, so those two had to be upgraded. But, now we've got the new speed, and it seems to be working well. The router, I'm still tweaking, so I'm hoping that this live show goes out okay. It looks like we had some buffering issues. Hopefully those are okay. But, the cable modem I bought, a Netgear one. The router I bought a Unify, which is the same people, or Ubiquiti. Same people make the Unify system, the wireless system that I use in my house. Great products, and they've been really solid so far. So I'm working well there. And then... talking about stuff that I bought, I also bought Mario Tennis Aces for my Switch. I have yet to play it because I'm still playing Super Mario Odyssey, and my daughter likes to play Super Mario Odyssey every night before she goes to bed. So we've been collecting all sorts of moons and everything like that. I'm hoping we're going to beat it pretty soon. So, Tim, we don't have much in the live chat. I don't know if we lost the connection or if people are still here. If you're still here, say something. Yeah, they're just listening.
Say hello.
If you're still here, say hello. We want to know you're still here. But, so that's some of the stuff I bought. I bought a cable modem, bought routers, bought that Tableau, and I also bought Mario Tennis Aces for my Switch. So those are the things I bought. I don't think I bought anything else recently, but you guys can't see it, but the game room is just a wreck because we spent money to replace all the floors in our house. And
that's always fun.
Exactly. So that's what I purchased is all the floors in the house. So there you go. But we're trying to get everything ready for next Saturday. It's my daughter's birthday, so that all this stuff hopefully will be out of there by then, and people will be able to play games.
5 years old. Wow, that's crazy.
There you go. So, which antenna did you go with? The one that I have, I can't remember the name. An N-top or something like that. I'll link to it and show you guys which one it is. It's a 60-mile outdoor antenna. That's what it is. So a 60-mile outdoor antenna.
You had to hook it out outside?
Yeah, but it looks like a little disc. And you probably driven by it a million times, you never even noticed.
Oh, okay.
So, I went with it's a little disc.
Mine looks like an iPad.
Yeah, okay, like square.
Yeah, and it's in the house.
Yeah, mine is hooked up outside the thing, and like I said, you probably wouldn't even notice it unless you knew it was there. So there you go. Okay, Tim, well, we finally got to this part, Tim's adventures with MoviePass. Now, Tim, there's been a lot of news this week that MoviePass has had financial trouble, like you mentioned.
Yeah, there were some people that tried to use it, and they couldn't use it for the day. They had to borrow some money just to get through the week.
Yep. Which
was really scary. But they come out with this press release today, said, we're still standing. It was the funniest press release ever. But anyway.
So you're a subscriber, and you're a shareholder.
Right.
So tell us about your experience and with the shareholder and the customer.
I went to see Skyscraper.
Okay.
Dwayne
Johnson.
And what happened? It was real easy. I went in, checked in. You have to have your phone. You have to be within 100 feet of the movies. Okay. That's how they know. And the reason why, my wife also has one, but it was a guy's night, and she didn't go.
Okay.
So the way that keeps me from using her MoviePass, I would have to have her phone too.
Sure.
And I guess they realized not very many people want to be without their phone for 3 or 4 hours.
Exactly.
So she didn't get to use hers. I got to use mine. It sent me probably within 30 seconds, I told it what theater and what movie I wanted to see and what time, and it sent me a QR code.
Okay.
And I took it up front, and she scanned it and said, I already picked my seat and everything. It was at Studio Movie Grill.
Okay.
And she said, here's my ticket. That quick. Nothing.
There you go.
So, in essence, almost in one time, it did pay for itself. Now, and they have now over, I think, 5 million subscribers.
Something like that.
So, it is growing. The problem is, they have to pay the movie theater back. I think they're losing some money on the very biggest blockbuster movies.
Sure.
So, I did get a letter from them the other day. Said they didn't want to go out of business. They're trying best to be profitable, and basically saying that it's going to go up some.
Sure.
So, depending on how much it goes up, am I going to go? Because right now I go to the movies twice. I've already paid for it.
Yeah.
If that changes to 3 times, I don't know that I go 3 times to the movies every month.
Exactly.
I can still justify just having it and going twice, but I don't hardly ever go more than 3 times a month. If you do, or you have that kind of time.
Now, they've also said they're going to limit the
it.
movies that you can go to, right?
Yeah, and I think that's probably just the major releases on their opening weeks.
Okay.
But that's usually not a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Or I'll just take a risk on a movie. I wasn't really super excited to see Skyscraper, but my buddy wanted to, and Landon said okay. It was kind of a good movie we could take him to. Wasn't too adult or anything. And but I really liked it. It was a good movie. It was a good movie.
I have to watch it. I've seen the previews.
It
and I was curious.
Pretty intense, as far as action and.
So you didn't tell us Skyscraper on the thing.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot that I went to the movies and used my movie pass, but it did work good. It wasn't any problems. But I have heard some stories since. So I hope they stay in business. I hope they can work some things out. But right now they're burning through cash like nobody's business. How a stock goes from $25 down to 10 cents in a little over a week's time, it's horrible. That's a nosedive. We always say in the stock trading business, don't try to catch a falling knife.
Right.
So I'm just going to see what happens and go with it. Maybe they can work things out. It still seems like a good deal to me.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing about it is that I think they were banking on a lot of people paying for it and not using it. Kind of like the Affordable Care Act, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're going to put all these people on there, and the healthy ones will pay for the sick ones.
Right.
But the problem is the only people who signed up for it were the sick ones.
Right.
Well, the only people who signed up for a movie pass are people who go to movies.
Right.
And so, and there are people who are going to use it.
It's not available for teenagers.
Right.
Because teenagers will probably more likely go and use it.
Right.
So, and it's also kind of irritating that they don't have a family pass. So, maybe there's some bugs to be worked out.
Now, I have a friend who literally went like almost every day to the movies who has it.
Yeah.
Well, and he's the guy that they're losing a ton of money.
Right, they are. But see, I've only been one time. I've already paid for 2 months. So
right.
I'm actually lost money by having it just because I haven't had the time.
You're the guy that they're banking on. The problem is I don't know how many of you there are compared to my buddy.
I agree. So who knows if but AMC has now come out with their own version. I think it's like $20 a month.
Right.
But it's all the movies you can see at AMC theaters.
Sure.
And that I think does include new releases and
right.
stuff. So I think anything that brings value, I think right now is what people are looking for. Like the Build-A-Bear thing that exploded and the thing at Chuck E. Cheese that day. People are looking for value. Where I don't mind spending a little money, but I just got to get a lot for it.
Exactly.
I'll let go of it, but it's got to really give me a lot for it. So.
Right. There you go. So, well, it sounds like it was good. And, of course, their stock is really hurting, like you mentioned, Tim. A lot of money being drained right now.
Yes.
So there you go. Okay, Tim, well, let us move on to some movie and TV talk. Now, Tim, you mentioned Skyscraper. You liked it. That's good.
I did like it.
Tim, I've been thinking about this topic, and it was a weird one for me. It's movies and TV shows that you should like, and
right,
people tell you that
like.
you like, but you don't like. And so, for me, that show is The Big Bang Theory. People have told me my entire life that you will like this show ever since it's been out. And, Tim, I try to watch it. I really do. I try to get entertainment value out of it, and it just doesn't appeal to me.
That's funny. I like it,
right.
And it's funny. There's some scenes in there that just make me laugh so hard, and I can relate to some of the characters in there.
Well, I relate, but they take stuff just way to the extreme.
Yeah, they're a little on the extreme nerdy side.
Exactly, and it's like, look, I understand. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek.
Right.
But it's kind of like, and maybe it's because it almost feels a little stereotypical.
Maybe so.
And I don't know. I don't enjoy watching it. That's what it comes down to. So
right.
I'm never like. So you have a show that people told you, oh, you'll really like this show.
Yeah, everybody would think that this is your show.
Exactly.
And just love it.
So do you have one like that? I'm curious. A show that everybody, like somebody told you, you'll really like this. This is the show for you, and you watched it and you're just like, eh. And I'm not saying it's
maybe
by the way, I'm not saying
that-
Big Bang Theory is a bad show.
It's just
not for me.
Right.
You know, and so I'm not saying like it's the worst show ever. It's not. I mean, I understand why people like it. I just don't like it. So that's why it comes down.
So I don't really like Criminal Minds so much.
Right. And tons of people watch
they
Criminal.
love that.
I mean, me either. Criminal Minds, CSI. I haven't had people tell me that I would like them.
Yeah.
But look at how many people watch those shows, and they love it.
And that may be and I like crime shows.
Exactly.
But it just seem unrealistic, a lot of them, and I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe you have a show or TV or movie that everybody's like, oh, you got to see this. You will love it. And then you watch it and you're just like, eh.
Right.
Yeah. So if you got one like that, let us know what it is. I'm curious. So I was just thinking about it for some reason one day. I think it was because Big Bang Theory was on. Like, it was just on. And I'm trying to watch it again for like the 15th time.
Right.
And I just can't get into it.
That's
so
funny.
But so if you guys have a show like that, a show that everybody thinks you should like, but you don't, or a movie like that, let us know. And, Tim, I mean, there were some, like, I think Ready Player One, I thought it was good.
Right.
It's like, I didn't love it, but I thought it was good.
I liked
that's
it.
okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good. But, I mean, I think sometimes people look at all those things and think, oh, you'll really love that.
Right,
It's like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's
wasn't
not great.
Return of the Jedi or nothing.
No,
Right.
exactly. So that's what it comes down to. So if you have a show like that, let us know what show you have. But, Tim, let's go ahead and get to some of this. Now, Tim, I got to a movie that I've been meaning to get to for a while and just hadn't seen, and that is Split. Are you familiar with Split?
No.
It has James McAvoy, and it's an M. Night
Shyamalan?
yeah,
Okay,
Shyamalan
I normally
movie.
like his movies.
Okay, so the reason why I've been wanting to watch this, and the reason why I watched it, was because they just released the trailer for Glass. And Split is part of Unbreakable. So if you've seen Unbreakable...
I loved Unbreakable.
If you love Unbreakable, Split is in the same universe.
Okay.
And they're about to come out with a movie next year called Glass.
Okay.
That is in the same universe.
I see.
Okay,
so I would probably like Split too.
Right.
Then.
So Split is awesome. Okay, it actually is really good. And so, yeah, there you go. But I watched Split and I liked it. And James McAvoy does a fantastic acting job. Oh my goodness!
Did you rent it? Is it?
It is. Yeah. I bought
Prime?
I bought a digital copy from a digital UV like ultraviolet website.
Okay.
For $1 something.
Oh wow.
You got UVspider.com. You ever heard of that one?
No.
Or, there are these websites. What people do is they buy the movies, but they rip the codes out of them because they don't use the code.
Uh-huh.
And so what these websites do is they resell those codes.
Oh. Okay.
And so I bought a code for $1.59 or something like that. I mean, because it's old.
Right.
So nobody wanted the code. So I bought the code and then I watched it. And it was really good. And like I said, I mean, the acting job is incredible. It's very disturbing. But it's about a guy who has split personalities.
Okay.
And it has kind of the same kind of M. Night stuff. It's very reminiscent to me of Signs.
Twist. Yeah.
There is kind of a twist. I don't know if I'd call it a twist, but there is kind of a twist in it. Not as twisty as some of his. So, but if you like Unbreakable, you kind of have to watch it because it goes into Glass. And Glass is going to have James McAvoy, Samuel Jackson as Glass from Unbreakable, and Bruce Willis.
What's the one he did where the people live like Amish and they're all in the woods, the village?
The village, I think.
Yeah,
so
that's a twist.
I have not seen all of them.
Okay,
so I haven't seen all of them. I've seen Signs. I've seen Sixth Sense. I've seen Unbreakable. I didn't see the one with the lady in the lake.
Lady in the water or something.
Or whatever that. I hadn't seen that one.
I saw that one.
So, and I didn't see The Happening because everybody told me it was terrible. I think that was one of his too, but whatever. So I'm not like a big fan of all of his, but I love Unbreakable. Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies of all time. And Split goes along with Unbreakable.
Okay.
So, and then like I said, Glass is going to come out next year, and you have to watch those two to really know what's going on, I guess, in Glass.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so that's why I watched it. I liked it. And Tim, you and me have both been watching Glow. I finished the second season.
Oh, I'm about middle way through.
Okay, I have already finished it. So what do you think so far?
So far, I really liked it, and it really picked up.
So let me tell you this.
Good.
When you get near the end, one episode is just a complete episode of Glow.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like an episode of what the show would be.
Okay.
And it's pretty good.
All right.
I was like, it's entertaining. It's corny as all get out. But, I mean, for 80s television, it's kind of what you expect, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to get to that episode. You're going to be like, what are they doing here? And you're like, they're showing me an actual episode of the show, basically.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. But I'm not going to spoil what happens in that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very good. And the end is kind of not really a twist, but, it changes. Like the whole, it's kind of like the whole goal that they're trying to do when they get to the end is kind of keep the show on the air.
Yeah.
You still see that.
Right.
Like they're trying to keep the show on the air and everything. Well, the end kind of has a twist on that. So
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you what, but it's kind of a twist on that. So when you
Okay.
get there, you have to let me know. I think it's fantastic. I think the acting is good. I am a sucker for pro wrestling 80s stuff, so I mean it kind of works, for me there. But I think it's very very fun.
Yeah,
And
some of the wrestling scenes are really good too.
oh yeah,
It's
they had
like,
real wrestlers train them.
Yeah,
So,
so
I mean, yeah,
looks realistic.
So it's very well done, and I enjoyed the second season a lot. So you will like the rest of it.
Okay.
Keep watching.
Good.
The nice thing is that it's only like 20 or 30 minutes long for each episode.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of watch one a night before I fall asleep.
Yep.
Because anything longer, I'll go to sleep.
Yeah, I pretty much
It's usually-
binged it, so I got through it pretty quick.
I may hit the rest of it this weekend. She's in the hospital right now, is what I'm watching.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
That's
I'm
a good
about
part.
halfway
Yeah.
through.
So like, did you just end at the part where she broke it?
No.
Okay,
she's
okay,
in the
you're past
hospital
that, okay.
and they're entertaining her.
Okay, I don't want to spoil too much.
Okay.
Okay, so there you go. I'm not going to talk about who we're talking about. There you go.
Yes.
But it is very good. And now, guys, last time on the after show, we talked about the staircase.
Yes.
So if you guys have seen it since we talked about it and you want to talk about it, let us know. The staircase on Netflix. What's the guy's name? Something Peterson. What was his first name? I can't remember.
I don't know. All my cousins are serial
Yeah, exactly
killers.
what I was about to say. But yeah, so if you watched that and you have some thoughts on the staircase on Netflix, let us know. We kind of went over that all last time. We did spoilers and everything, but we both thought it was good and very interesting. So. And then Tim, you were wanting to watch Extinction.
I've seen part of it. If you haven't seen the trailer, basically it's a end of the world alien is coming to extinct us, and this guy's having these premonitions or dreams about what's going to happen, and everybody thinks he's kind of losing his mind, but he's seeing these signs and stuff, and then evidently what he's seeing starts to come to pass. So anyway, Extinction is a brand new made for Netflix movie. And so far, I have really enjoyed it. In fact, I'll probably watch the rest of it before this weekend's up. Just one of those deals. By the time I get to watching it, I'm already tired. But
and that's how it is for me too.
But Extinction is definitely on my list of things to watch.
Now, the other thing, Tim, that I'm halfway through as well is called The Bleeding Edge,
Yes.
which is a documentary on Netflix about medical devices. And so far, it's very fascinating. It talks about how basically medical devices are way less sanctioned than like medication, for instance, narcotics. And so I'm halfway through it right now. And they interview some people who had medical devices installed that they thought were safe and they weren't. And
Yeah,
it's
but
very
pretty much
interesting.
don't you take that risk when they tell you, you know.
Well, like a doctor tells you, it's completely safe.
Well,
it won't
yeah.
harm you, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I know that a lot of, for instance, when my sister had cancer, they were talking about some experimental treatment. Well, what are you going to do at that point? You
Right.
know, it's like, so, but I guess, stuff that shouldn't cause that kind of issues or problems,
Right.
that's what's scary.
Exactly. So, like, I mean, hip replacements and some of the issues with those that people have had, like
Yeah.
downright insanity due to hip replacements.
Yeah.
I mean, it talks about that. I'm not going to spoil it.
Wow.
And these ladies who wanted, like, just an easy way for contraception, and it ended up, basically damaging them for life.
Wow.
I mean, and those are some of the topics that are covered in it, and just how underregulated the medical device industry is. And it's like $100 and something billion industry, $115 billion industry.
It's one of my fears. I'm going to wake up from surgery and the doctor's going to be looking around for his cell phone. Or something.
It's gonna be
Like,
inside you.
yeah.
You'll have a medical device.
Yeah,
But I mean, like artificial hips though, and I mean, it talks about how a lot of these things just get grandfathered in, like without any testing.
Wow.
And the testing is not very strenuous.
Wow.
I mean, and you're putting stuff in people's bodies.
Sounds like an interesting show, though.
Absolutely. So I'm a documentary guy, so
Me
I like
too.
documentaries, and so if you like documentaries, that's one of the reasons why I'm watching it. So
All right.
okay,
Well,
now the Geek Life says start the beginning of Big Bang. Maybe that's my problem. I always catch one like in the middle.
yeah, maybe
I never
so.
start at the beginning.
See, and I think it's funny because if you really watch it, Sheldon's from East Texas.
Right. Oh, you think so?
No, he
Yeah?
is
Oh, like
from
really?
East Texas
Okay.
in the
like
show.
the actor or him? Okay.
No, like the actor in the show, his mom, he was raised in East Texas.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he's a scientist. Actually, she was raised him strict Christian and
Right.
stuff. So there's a lot of that comes out about his mom. It's really funny. So I don't know. There's some scenes that I could probably show you. Just
Well, some of the
There's
ones
some
that
are
people
funny,
like, I just don't find funny. Like there's the one where he's like debating all of the video game consoles and stuff like that, and don't dig that scene at all. Like people who don't know about video game stuff, like dig that scene. In fact, we had one of the elders at our church like preached and showed that.
Oh wow!
And like he knows nothing about video games,
Right.
but he thought that was like the funniest scene ever.
Right.
And I'm like, I know video games, and I don't think it's funny. You know, it's like he's just talking through details.
You ever see? Then he has this unhealthy. His antagonist. You know who his antagonist is? Will Wheaton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he just can't stand him, and it's so funny. But anyway, to each his own. I guess it's not your style.
Maybe I'll start from the beginning. I'll try. I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't watch it.
And I think there's probably a show like that. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
And you think I should like this, but I just don't.
Right.
Yeah. So
whatever it is. So
whatever
we didn't
it
get any
is.
responses, but it is what it is. So
okay.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up here, Tim. Unless you got anything else to talk about.
No, I think I'm tired and ready to go home. But appreciate everybody watching and listening in the chat room.
Yeah, I think we got a really good crowd here tonight, and I hope that everybody had a good time. We always have a good time doing the live shows, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So and we'll do another one next month. Let's see when that will be. So I always like to bring up the calendar just to see. And Tim, that will be the 6th. The 6th of September.
Okay.
So there you go. So the 6th of September, Tim. That's kind of
I would say if you guys have a debate topic or something you'd like for us to discuss, please be sure and add that in there.
Yeah, so if you have any debate topics, of course, any questions, you guys can send them to questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Leave them in the comment section here, of course, and that'll be fine as well. But guys, I think we're going to head off into the sunset, and we'll see you guys on September 6th, 5:30, same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
Right, there you go.
Thanks, everybody.
So thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you on the next live show. Take care.